So, good evening to all of you. My name is Ranchan Kaul and I'm here to take lectures on logical reasoning part of CSAT. Alright, can I have a show of hands here? Oh, there's around 88 odd participants already. Good thing. Alright, so before we begin on logical reasoning, let me give you a brief idea about what CSAT is all about. How many of you are trying it for the first time? Oh, I guess I can't figure out. Right? Generally speaking, what is CSAT all about? CSAT basically being the Civil Services Aptitude Test. Just let me give you a brief idea of what CSAT should be like. Alright? Okay, so CSAT, good evening, good evening, good evening. Oh, there's a lot of good evenings. Can you please stop with good evening? That's alright. Good evening to all of you once again. Right? Okay, so CSAT, before you all know, it's a qualifying paper. Right? Qualifying as in, how many do I have to score? You have to score a third of around 200 marks, which is somewhere around, you can say 67 and a half. You can round it off to say 68. 68 you have to score, right? There's around 80 odd questions. 80 questions, right? Each question is around 2.5 marks. And there is a negative of 1/3 for every wrong answer. Right? Okay, so before we delve on to going as to how you will score a 68, you have to know what the distribution of questions in CSAT is all about. Alright? How do you figure that out? How do you see? Do you have any clue as to how many questions have been there which come from reading comprehension sections? How many questions come from quantitative aptitude? How many questions come from logical reasoning? Right? Do you have any clue as to how many questions come from logical reasoning? Can I have a few numbers here? Out of 80, how many questions from logical reasoning? Let's see if you can make that guess or not. I'm looking at the screen, I'm getting no numbers. How many questions out of 80 come from this section called logical reasoning? Let's see. I'm getting no answers, no answers. Good evening, लिख दो तो यार, आगे भी लिख दो. कोई एक तुक्का ही मार लो. How many questions do you think normally we should get? All right, maybe 20 odd, yes. Somebody is guessing 20. There are people guessing 10 to 15. All right. And there are people guessing, all right. Vishali is saying 10 to 15, 10 to 15, 15 to 20. Good enough. All right. So CSAT has a distribution of, there are basically 3 sections. There is a section on reading comprehension. There is a section on logical reasoning. And there is a section on quantitative aptitude. So when CSAT started, this is probably around 2012-ish, right, 2012 onwards, then you would have RC में questions around 40 questions from RC. This is when it started. जब ये शुरू हुआ था, around 40 questions RC के आते थे, right? And 40 questions में से doable कितने थे? 40 के 40, right? Contemporaneous times में RC is का almost around, you can expect 28 to 30 questions from RC. Right? And the remaining would be around 50 questions come from logical reasoning plus quantitative aptitude. Difference क्या है quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning में? 25 approximately from comprehension, rest reasoning and maths. Yes. Now 25, it's around 28 to 30 odd from reading comprehension. Then बाकी सब जो आपका बच गया, that is quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning. Right? Reasoning is what is required in quantitative aptitude too, but every time you're doing logical reasoning, remember, in logical reasoning, once you get to the logic of the question, the rest you have to figure out using very basic arithmetic. Addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, usse aapka kaam chal jata hai. Very few times will you find certain tricks, certain formulae that you can use in logical reasoning. Otherwise, largely it's about logic and logic alone. Right? Quantitative aptitude, you can simply think of it as maths. Right? So logical reasoning and quantitative aptitude in the contemporaneous times, you will get around 50 odd questions, right? Logical reasoning alone will get you around, you can say 17, 18 odd questions from logical reasoning, right? Remaining will be mathematics, right? Now this brings us to the dilemma that most of you people have, right? The dilemma is, how do you get to the score? 68 पहले कैसे लाए? बाद में देखा जाएगा, because it's qualifying. Unless you qualify this, your scores for GS1 will not be evaluated. Very simple. Therefore, you have to cross that barrier, the barrier of 68, right? All right. So I can tell you If your strategy is to rely solely on reading comprehension, you are setting yourself up for failure. Why? Because 28 to 30 odd questions, even if it's 30, right? 30 multiplied by 2.5, it's around 75, right? 75 will help you qualify. For that, you will have to get all 30 questions right. And in the present times, if you read any questions on RC, you will be confused most of the times. Right? Because the options are so closely spaced, you will come out of the examination hall thinking कि मेरा तो सारा सही हो रहा है, right? And then you will go and tally from across coachings के question जो answer keys रहती हैं, and then you will find there is a variance of 5 से 8 questions. कोई किसी coaching को लगता है एक answer है, किसी coaching को लगता है दूसरा answer है. What you will eventually get out of it is somewhere around 25 odd questions जो आपको पता होगा कि शायद ये सही हो जाए, right? And 25 questions are not good enough to help you qualify. Right? What that will do is, regardless of whether GS1 is going great or not, you will always be confused, and you will be confused for the remaining 1.5 months of waiting till you are waiting for your prelims your result. Right? उस दौरान ना तो आप ध्यान से फोकस कर पाओगे, उस दौरान आप पूरे टाइम कंफ्यूज रहोगे कि मेरा एग्जाम क्लियर हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है, मैं करूं तैयारी नहीं करूं, मेंस की करूं कि नहीं करूं. एंड यू विल हैव हर्ड ऑफ लॉट ऑफ टॉपर्स. एक साल वो टॉपर है, नेक्स्ट ईयर आपको दिखेगा वो सीसैट क्वालिफाई नहीं कर पा रहे. राइट? क्वालिफाई क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे? देयर इज ओनली वन रीजन फॉर इट. द रीजन इज व्हाट यू कॉल लैक ऑफ प्रैक्टिस. प्रैक्टिस किए बिना अगर आप जाके मैथ्स एंड 66 or 68, say it's 68 Vishal, it's not 66, around 67.5, 1/3 of 200 basically, right? You can think of it mostly around 67ish, right? All right. So if you have to yeah, what I'm saying is, the only reason why people do not qualify CSAT is because this. Even if you go look at any of the previous year's question papers, I can guarantee you this, without preparation, अगर आपने prepare भी नहीं किया, अगर आपको basic elementary mathematics आती है, at least, if nothing, 6 to 8 questions from QA and LR are what you call low hanging fruits. इतने आसान questions हैं कि आप बिना practice के उनको कर सकते हो, राइट? बट प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है? प्रॉब्लम होती है कॉन्फिडेंस की. कॉन्फिडेंस आता किससे है? कॉन्फिडेंस आता केवल और केवल प्रैक्टिस से है, और किसी चीज से नहीं, राइट? द मोर यू प्रैक्टिस, द मोर यू गेट इन ट्यून विद व्हाट इज डिमांडेड इन द क्वेश्चन पेपर, राइट? व्हाट सीसैट डिमांड्स ऑफ यू. तुम्हारे लिए 68 इज नथिंग, राइट? दिक्कत क्या है कि आप प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते हो. प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए, बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ यू मे हैव लॉस्ट टच विद मैथ्स, होता है. अब आप ह्यूमैनिटीज के हो, बैकग्राउंड आपकी ह्यूमैनिटीज है, किसी की कॉमर्स है, किसी की आर्ट्स है, किसी की हिस्ट्री है. आखिरी बारी मैथ्स कब करी थी? हो सकता है किसी ने 10th में करी हो सकता है किसी ने 12th तक करी हो, बट तब से छूट चुका है टच, राइट? अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि ये मैथ्स ऐसा कोई हाई लेवल मैथमेटिक्स तो आता नहीं है. इट्स नॉट लाइक यू दे विल आस्क यू कैलकुलस, वो डिफरेंशियल कैलकुलस आपसे पूछते नहीं, इंटीग्रल कैलकुलस आपसे पूछते नहीं, वेक्टर्स आपसे पूछते नहीं है. ऐसा हाई लेवल मैथ्स तो आता नहीं है. मैथ्स इज बेसिकली एलिमेंट्री, बहुत ही एलिमेंट्री मैथ्स आता है, विच ओनली रिक्वायर्स दिस. प्रैक्टिस कर लो, you will have no problems getting 68. And if you can figure out 6 to 8 questions, जो questions easy हैं, जो questions आप बिना practice के भी कर सकते हो, even to identify these questions, आपको कुछ तो पता होना चाहिए. आप ऐसे ही चले गए मुंह उठा के कि चलो यार मैं जाके आरसी पे मैं सारे के सारे आरसी कर दूंगी एंड आई विल क्वालिफाई इट. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं हो सकता, हो सकता है कि बाय द स्ट्रोक ऑफ लक क्वालिफाई कर दो. आई एम प्रीटी श्योर हो सकता है, बट द प्रॉब्लम इज दोज 1.5 months ऑफ वेटिंग पेनफुली फॉर योर रिजल्ट्स कि तुम्हारा क्लियर हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. एंड इन दैट टाइम यू लूजिंग टाइम टुवर्ड्स योर मेंस. 3 महीने मिलते हैं आपको मेंस के लिए करने के लिए, और उसमें भी अगर आप 1.25 महीना परेशान रहोगे, दैट्स नॉट अ गुड स्ट्रेटजी टू फॉलो, राइट? What I will try and do in these classes is I will try to make sure that around these 17 to 18 odd questions that you get from logical reasoning, you get all of them right. I'll try and make it very, very simple for you. I'll try to help you also analyze कि कौन से questions आसान होते हैं, कौन से questions lengthy होते हैं, difficult होते हैं, right? So that you can pick and save time. In an exam situation, it's not just dependent on whether you can solve questions or not. Most of the cases you can solve questions. ऐसा नहीं कि उसमें कोई solvable question नहीं है, सारे questions solvable होते हैं. Problem होती है सिर्फ time की. You're also racing against time, right? Strategy होनी चाहिए. At least if I can give you an elementary strategy on CSAT, the first thing you want to do is get your paper. The moment you get your paper, try and mark all these questions of logical reasoning and quantitative aptitude. सबसे पहले सर्कल कर दीजिए सारे के सारे क्वेश्चंस जो आपको क्वांटिटेटिव एप्टीट्यूड का मिलता है, लॉजिकल रीजनिंग का मिलता है. एक बार सर्कल कर दो विदाउट लुकिंग एट कि एग्जैक्टली क्या पूछा हुआ है. नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम, जस्ट गो एंड सर्कल देम, राइट? Once you have circled them already, then find questions from topics which you are very very confident in. जिस भी topics में आप confident हैं, उस topics के आप questions उठाइए, पहले logical reasoning and quantitative aptitude को solve करिए. Make sure, अगर it depends on the kind of student you are, right? Make sure you get at least 15-20 odd questions right. अगर यहाँ पर आपने 20 questions already right कर दिए, right? You are getting a 50 already. If you are getting a 50, that's a great head start. उसके बाद 18 नंबर आपको आरसी में लाने में कोई दिक्कत होती नहीं है, राइट? अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि यहां पर मैं आपको ये क्यों बोल रहा हूं कि LR एंड क्वांटिटेटिव एप्टीट्यूड को पहले कीजिए. व्हाई? दैट इज बिकॉज आरसी में देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम कि यू डोंट नो हाउ मच टाइम इट विल टेक. आजकल दे आर सेंडिंग यू वेरी स्मॉल स्मॉल पैसेजेस, बहुत छोटे छोटे पैसेजेस होते हैं. एक एक क्वेश्चन का, ओके, एक एक क्वेश्चन का जो है, यू कैन से पर पैसेज देयर इज ओनली वन क्वेश्चन, राइट? अब वो पैसेज को एक बार ही पढ़ना, फिर वापस उसको दोबारा पढ़ना, उसको पढ़ के दोबारा फिर सोचना कि जो मैंने एग्जैक्टली राइट किया था नहीं किया था. आरसीज में प्रॉब्लम क्या है? द प्रॉब्लम इज विद टाइम. If you start with RCs, and if let's say you have to read 20-25 odd passages from RC, you don't know how long that will take you. ये पता नहीं होता, right? So the good thing about LA and LR and QA is quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning is कि अगर आपने सॉल्व कर दिया है, आंसर आपके सामने है. If you're getting the answer, at least आपको पता कि आंसर राइट है, right? Give yourself time शुरू में. LR and quantitative aptitude, depending on what your proficiency level is, at least I suggest कि 30 to 40 minutes तो आप इसको शुरू में ही allocate कर दीजिए. And 30 to 40 minutes में try and get a minimum of 20 questions right. अगर आपने 20 questions right कर दिए इन 30 से 40 मिनट में, उसके बाद the remaining time you can give to RC, कितना भी कर लो, 18-20 नंबर तो आराम से ले ही आओगे, right? This is what you should start with. Although खैर ये depend करता है on the kind of student you are. It depends on how practice, how well prepared you are, right? This is just an elementary strategy. What out of all this discussion, what you should keep in your mind is at least try and solve LR and QA first. भले ही आप 30 मिनट दो, 40 दो, किसी को 15 या 20 देना है, whatever you want to decide, at least get a head start from LR and QA. That do it in the beginning, right? बिकॉज प्रॉब्लम क्या इसका मतलब, द गुड पार्ट ऑफ इट इज यू विल एटलीस्ट नो कि आपका सॉल्व हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, राइट? आरसी के केस में क्या कि आपको लगता है कि आपका आंसर सही है कि नहीं, वो तो टाइम ही बताएगा, राइट? एंड आरसी के केस में क्या कि यू डोंट नो हाउ मेनी रीडिंग्स यू विल टेक, सो उसमें टाइम का दिक्कत हो जाता है. ट्राई एंड डू इट फर्स्ट. ऑलराइट, आई होप आई एम क्लियर ऑन दिस. ऑलराइट, बिकॉज आवर आईज ऑनलाइन क्लास इज शेकिंग while you are Rome, all right? Okay. So, in LR, what do we have in terms of topics? So, the topics for LR would be multiple. There will be a section on dice. There will be a section on cubes. There will be clocks. There will be calendars, right? There will be arrangements. There will be syllogism. There will be blood relations. There will be directions, inequalities, राइट? 9-10 तो एटलीस्ट आपके पास टॉपिक्स हैं, राइट? इन 9-10 में सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट कौन कौन से होते हैं? द वन इज अरेंजमेंट्स इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, सिलोजिज्म इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, डाइस एंड क्यूब्स टुगेदर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, कैलेंडर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, समटाइम्स क्लॉक्स ऑल्सो, राइट? दीज आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स, ये अगर आपको पता है, सो एटलीस्ट जो 10-11 क्वेश्चन आपका समय यहां से आपका हो जाता है, नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम, राइट? वी विल स्टार्ट विद a section on dice and cubes. हम इससे start करेंगे and we'll proceed accordingly, depends on how you are grasping these topics. Ishika is asking what's after arrangements? Arrangements के बाद this is syllogism. Have you seen some dogs are pens, all pens are cats, all cats are Nazi, right? Then you have to pick one of the questions. Those are called syllogism. Questions based on syllogs, right? Ishika, I hope you're clear on this. सर कौन से ईयर के सीसैट क्वेश्चन सबसे टफ पूछा गया है? Vishal, the answer to this is, I think with each passing year, they're trying to raise the level of difficulty. If I have to make a guess, I think last year, in fact, this year, Contemporary Times, this year was what people suggested that it is very hard. To my mind, in the last few years, the level of difficulty certainly has increased. But are these questions which are not doable? A lot of these questions are very, very doable. The problem is with practice. जिसने practice नहीं करी, उसको अगर बिल्कुल आसान पेपर भी दे दोगे, उससे वो भी नहीं हिलता. Right? The problem is there. Cool? All right. So we'll start with dices and cubes. Do you know what dices are? Do you know what cubes are? What is a cube? ट्राई एंड फॉलो द लेक्चर. आराम आराम से फॉलो करो. कुछ प्रॉब्लम होती है प्लीज अपने क्वेश्चन पूछ लीजिएगा. सर दिस ईयर आई करेक्टेड 33 क्वेश्चन. नाइस. Coding, decoding. Yes, Varun, there is also coding, decoding. There is also puzzles that can be asked. I will get through all of them. Right? सारे के सारे topics touch किए जाएंगे. Don't worry about it. All right? Okay. So tell me, what really is a cube? Cube क्या होता है? What is a cube? Coding, decoding, sir. अरे कोडिंग डिकोडिंग नहीं होता है. दिस कॉल्ड कोड्स. देयर आर आल्सो क्वेश्चंस ऑन सीरीज भी आती है, कोड्स भी आते हैं. देयर आर मल्टीपल टॉपिक्स इफ यू हैव टू थिंक ऑफ इट. आई विल कवर ईच वन ऑफ देम. डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. सारे के सारे कवर होंगे. ऑलराइट? ओके. सो इफ यू हैव टू थिंक ऑफ क्यूब्स, जनरली स्पीकिंग, द बिगर सेट इज दैट ऑफ अ क्यूबॉइड. व्हाट इज अ क्यूबॉइड? Any box that you can find is a cuboid. Box in the shape of, right? It looks like this. There is length, there is height, and you can call it width or you can call it breadth. Right? किसी भी डब्बे को अगर आपने देखा है, generally speaking, the broader set is called a cuboid. Right? In a cuboid, the length does not have to be equal to the breadth, it does not have to be equal to the height. Right? Any two can be equal. हो सकता है length height के बराबर हो, but कोई भी तीनों के तीनों dimensions equal नहीं होते. Yes. Right? The bigger set is that of a cuboid. If there is a cuboid in which all dimensions are equal, length is equal to the breadth is equal to the height, right? That is when that cuboid will be called a cube. A cube is basically a 3D square. अगर आपने square देख लिया है, एक किसी भी square box को देख लो जिसके सारे faces are actually a square, that is what is called a cube. In a cube, you will have 3 dimensions, right? Length, height, breadth. Length will be equal to the breadth, will be equal to the height. This is what a cube is. All right? Very simple. A 3-dimensional square. This is what a cube is. All right? हम start करेंगे. We'll start with dices first. Right? What is a dice? When you look at a cube, what can be a dice typically? Typically, आपने वो पासा खेला है, कभी snakes and ladders खेला. There is also that dice there. Right? What is generally a dice? A dice is basically a cube, right? Where all faces have either a number or a symbol, anything mentioned on its face. Right? That is what a dice is. Normally speaking, you will find dice जिसपे numbers आपको मिलते हैं, but that's not necessary in questions based on dice. जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको numbers लिखे हो सकता है उस पर symbols हो सकता है उसके ऊपर colors हो. You don't know what it is. A dice is basically just a cube. A cube where each face has something either written or painted on it or engraved on it. It can be a number, it can be a symbol, it can just be a color as is mentioned to you. Very, very simple. All right? Okay. Normally speaking, a dice will look to you something like this. Right? 1, 2, 3. You can imagine peech wale faces, side wale faces, and bottom wale faces, which are numbered. Now, if you go and try and sort of attempt questions based on dice, there is no need for you to go and check ki standard dice kya hota hai, non-standard kya hota hai, general kya hota hai. Absolutely no need. In questions based on dice, I will show you certain rules. उन रूल्स को आप फॉलो कीजिए. देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन ऑन डाइस दैट यू कैन गेट रॉन्ग. हो ही नहीं सकता. एक भी क्वेश्चन गलत नहीं होने वाला. राइट? जनरली स्पीकिंग, किसी भी क्यूब में, इफ यू लुक एट दिस क्यूब, हाउ मेनी कॉर्नर्स टू अ क्यूब? टेल मी. कितने कॉर्नर्स होते हैं किसी भी क्यूब में? हाउ मेनी कॉर्नर्स टू अ क्यूब? देयर कैन बी 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 1 that you cannot see. पीछे भी होगा एक corner. Right? There are 8 corners. How many faces to a cube? There are 6 faces. 1 the front face. This is the front. Adjacent. Then the top. 1, 2, 3. There will be 1 at the back. 1 around this side and 1 at the bottom. There are 6 faces. Each of these faces will either have a symbol or have a number or have a color associated with it. Right? This is what generally dice is. Right? In questions based on dice, what they will do is they will try and throw a dice. Right? At any given point in dice, the one thing that you have to remember is a maximum of 3 faces can you find. किसी भी plane of reference में maximum अगर आप देख पाओगे किसी dice में, it can only be 3 faces. I wish I had a dice to show you. Right? If you have seen God, there is nothing here that I can try and show to you that what can be a dice. Generally speaking, every time you look at a dice, the maximum surfaces that you possibly can see is only 3. In questions based on dice, what they will do is they will throw a dice first. एक बारी वो dice फेंकेंगे and they will show you कि हमें let's say ये 3 numbers दिखे, right? 1, 2 and 3. Next में क्या करेंगे? Same dice को फेंकेंगे, right? And then they will say 4, 2 and 5. अब हमको ये 3 faces दिख रहे हैं, right? हो सकता है कि वो और भी आपको ऐसे फ्रेम्स ऑफ रेफरेंसेस दिखाएं. रिमेंबर दिस विल बी द सेम डाइस. एक ही डाइस है, डाइस को थ्रो किया एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट इन टाइम, वन फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरेंस में यू फाउंड 3 सरफेसेस, राइट? इन द अदर फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरेंस यू विल फाउंड अनदर 3 सरफेसेस, राइट? व्हाट दे विल आस्क यू इज दैट बेस्ड ऑन दीज फेसेस दैट यू कैन सी which of the options, जो नीचे ऑप्शन उन्होंने दिए होंगे आपको, which of these options are possible, or they may ask you which of these options are not possible, right? Right? This is what they will ask you, right? आपने एक डाइस फेंकी, डाइस को फेंकते हुए आपको 3 नंबर्स दिखे, फिर आपने वही डाइस पकड़ी, फिर से फेंकी, दूसरे फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरेंस में आपको ये 3 नंबर्स दिखे. हो सकता है आपको वो तीसरी बारी भी फेंक के दिखाए, बोलेगा देखो इस बारी मेरे को दिखा है 6, 4 एंड 2, अब मेरे को ये दिखा. नाउ ही विल आस्क यू इन द ऑप्शंस दैट आर गिवन बिलो, ये बताओ इनमें से कौन सा डाइस पॉसिबल है और कौन सा डाइस पॉसिबल नहीं है. The only thing you have to do here is, one, remember that in any given dice, there can be 8 corners, there can be 6 faces, right? 6 faces में, how many pairs of opposite faces? कितने opposite faces के pairs होते हैं? If you have to ask me. How many pairs of opposite faces? Are you answering? Are you not? Okay. Yes. There are 3 pairs of opposite faces. Opposite faces कौन से faces हुए? वो faces जो आपस में एक भी edge को share नहीं करते. Those are opposite faces. In case there are faces which share any edge, they are called adjacent faces. Now when the frames of reference that they will try and show you, आपको 3 frames of references दिखा दें, it's the same dice, remember. एक ही dice है, उसी को फेंक के 3 बारी आपको 3 frames of references में बोला मेरे को ये दिखा है, अब मुझे बताओ बॉटम में कुछ पॉसिबल है या नहीं. There is only 2 rules that you have to remember. बस 2 rules हैं and all questions of dice you can easily do, right? The first rule is what you call, लिख ही लो इसको. Rule number 1 is what you call the clockwise rule. Clockwise rule. What does the clockwise rule say? It says, if you have 2 frames of references of the same dice, and if you find that between these 2 frames of references there is only 1 face in common, अगर एक ही face in common है, right? Then what you have to do is you just have to go clockwise. Very simple, right? Write it down. If between 2 frames of references there is only 1 फेस बोल दो, सरफेस बोल दो, राइट? नंबर बोल दो इन कॉमन, द रूल इज टू गो क्लॉकवाइज. राइट इट डाउन. Sanjeev is saying the third dice thrown is wrong. It could be. It could be. Okay. We'll try and do it. But why would you say that the third dice is wrong? Alright. If I have written it down, then I'll tell you what the second rule is. Rule number 2. If there are two faces बोल दो या surfaces बोल दो या numbers बोल दो in common, if there are two faces, surfaces in common, the remaining faces are opposite to each other. Just write these two rules down and I'll try and explain. I will explain it to you. I haven't explained it just yet. Alright. If you have just written it down, I'll try and explain it right away. पहले एक बारी लिख लो आप इसको. When you are done writing, sir, once read rule number 1. Rule number 1 is, if between two frames of references, or you can say it between two dice, each one of these is a frame of reference. This is frame of reference 1, 2, and 3. If you can just generally write down, if between two dices, right, you can only find one face in common, one surface in common, one number in common, one symbol in common, whatever has been mentioned on the face of the dice, right, then go clockwise. Just remember this. Right? एक बारी लिख लो. If you have done, FOR means frames of reference. Why am I not saying these are dices? Why? Because this is the same dice. एक ही dice है जिसको बार बार throw किया गया. Right? If you are done writing, then I will explain it to you. Just tell me when you are done writing. The moment you are done writing, and I'll try explaining it. आपको मैं explain करके बताऊंगा. Written. All right. Cool. So, okay. Now look at rule number 1. What does the rule number 1 say? If between two frames of references there is only one face, surface, number, symbol, whatever in common, right? Then go clockwise. Now look at this dice. This is the same dice thrown one after the other. In the first frame of references you find number 1, 2 and 1, 3 and 2, or 1, 2 and 3, whichever way you go. In the second frame of reference you have 2, 4 and 5. Right? Between this and this, these are each is a frame of reference. Between each frame of reference, how many numbers in common? There is only one number in common, which is 2. Right? If there is only one number in common, go clockwise. How do you go clockwise? You write it down. 2, 2. This is the number in common across both faces. Now, what you have to do is go clockwise. Whichever number is in common, वहां पर अपना pen रख के, just go clockwise. You know how the clock moves? The clock moves like this, right? Then for the frame of reference number 1, put your pen on 2, go clockwise. 2, 3 and then 1. Write it down. 2, 3 and 1. Cool? In the second frame of reference, once again, go clockwise. Start from the number which is in common, 2, then go clockwise. 2, 5 and then 4. 2, 5 and then 4. Right? Now, according to this rule, what will happen is these faces will be opposite to each other. Right? 3 will be opposite to 5. 1 will be opposite to 4. This is what you will get. It does not matter where this common number lies. हो सकता है 2 यहाँ लिखाओ, कहीं पर भी लिखाओ, it does not matter. If there is only one face in common, just go clockwise. This is what you have to find out. Right? Okay. Let me just इसको हटा देते हैं at this point in time. Right? Given between these two frames of references, हो सकता है कि 2 यहाँ पर लिखा हुआ होता. It does not matter. Even if 2 was here, 4 and 5. Right? Even if 2 was here, you had to go clockwise only. Right? In this case, you would have to. Okay, fine. This is the same frame of reference. What I'm trying to get at is that it does not matter where 2 is here, where 2 is here, or where 2 is here. 2 kahin par bhi ho. If there is only one number in common, start from that common number and then go 2, 4 and 5. In which case you should have written 2, 3 and 1. This is for frame of reference 1. For this, you have to write 2, then go clockwise. The clock will move like this, 2, 4, and 5. In this case, 1 will be opposite to 5, 3 will be opposite to 4. Remember? Very, very simple. If between two frames of references, there is only one face in common, just go clockwise. Very simple. Alright? Cool? It does not matter kahan location hai. Koi farak nahi padta. Just go clockwise. Right? In this case, tell me what will 2 be opposite to. Remember, ये इन दोनों का मैंने यहां लिखा हुआ है, इसका और इसका वहां पर लिखा हुआ है. Alright? Now tell me what will 2 be opposite to. ये बताइए 2 opposite किसके होगा? Just tell me this. Shoot your answers. What will 2 be opposite to in both cases? Throw in your answers, please. Tell me. What will 2 be opposite to? I'm waiting for your answers. Just tell me. And nobody is going to send his answers, right? सही है यार. गुड इवनिंग लिखते टाइम 25 गुड इवनिंग आ जाते हैं, बट यहाँ आंसर पूछ लिया तो नहीं. बताइए 2 किसके ऑपोजिट होगा? टेल मी. Anybody wants to attempt this? What will 2 be opposite to? I'm waiting for your answers. I will not proceed before I have your answers. Tell me. Hanji, refresh. Oh, acha. Sorry. Sometimes. Okay. Yes. All right. People are saying. All right. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Right. Slow head system. All right. A lot of you are saying 2 will be opposite to 6. Some of you have gotten it right. Remember, every time you're only given 2 frames of reference. Right? In case there is only one face in common, what you can clearly say is 3 is opposite 5, 1 is opposite 4. 2 is just opposite the remaining face. Not 6. जो भी रिमेनिंग साइड होगी 2 उसके ऑपोजिट होगा. मैंने अभी तक बोला आपको ये 1 to 6 है. Have I mentioned it? Right? I haven't mentioned it's from 1 to 6. Right? You don't know what the other surface is. You have no idea. You will only say 2 is opposite to the remaining face. There are only 6 faces to a dice. Right? This is opposite this. This is opposite this. This is the fifth surface. You don't know what the remaining surface is. But what you should know is that 2 will be opposite to this remaining face. क्यों? क्योंकि देयर कैन ओनली बी 3 पेयर्स ऑफ ऑपोजिट सरफेसेस. राइट? 2 तो आपने बता दिए. जो इकलौता बचा हुआ सरफेस है वो 2 के ही ऑपोजिट होगा. सिंपल सी बात है. राइट? व्हाई आर यू गोइंग विद इंट्यूशन एंड सेइंग इट्स 6? दिस इज योर फर्स्ट फेलियर. डोंट डू इट. राइट? डोंट अज्यूम अनलेस क्वेश्चन में मेंशन्ड है दैट इट्स बीन नंबर्ड 1 to 6. और हो सकता है कि आपको और फ्रेम्स ऑफ रेफरेंसेस भी दिख जाए जिसमें आपको दिख जाए कि एक और नंबर 6 भी है. राइट? इन विच केस यू विल से 2 इज ऑपोजिट टू 6. If I have given you only 2 frames of reference, I haven't mentioned कि 1 से 6 है. हो सकता है कि उसमें मैंने काली माता का वो बना के रखा है, फोटो बना के रखा हुआ है. हो सकता है वहां पर मैंने वहां पर लेट्स से रेड कलर डाल दिया, कुछ भी डाल दिया. I don't know. You will just say 2 is opposite to remaining face. Whatever is the remaining face, 2 will be opposite to that because there can only be 3 pairs of opposite surfaces. Right? Simple. Okay? This is rule number 1. Cool. Is it clear? Is it clear mostly? I'm thinking. Yes. Sanjeev is saying because dices have numbers from 1 to 6 only. Sanjeev, this is your first mistake. It has to be mentioned in the question. Either it's mentioned in the question that it has been numbered 1 to 6, not necessary that it has 1 to 6. There will be questions on dice which will have figures on it. कौन से dice देखिए आपने जिस पे figures होते हैं? Right? So don't assume. If it has been mentioned to you in the question कि हाँ numbers are 1 to 6, in which case remaining surface होगा 6 क्योंकि आपको 6 ही नहीं दिख रहा है. It can be that you are given multiple frames of reference उसमें आप देख सकते हो आपको डिफरेंट नंबर्स कौन से दिख रहे हैं, मैक्स टू मैक्स 6 ही नंबर्स हो सकते हैं, जो भी रिमेनिंग नंबर होगा वो आप यहां पर डाल देंगे. वेरी सिंपल, राइट. डोंट जंप टू द कंक्लूजन, डोंट स्टार्ट अज्यूमिंग थिंग्स, रीड द क्वेश्चन वेरी वेरी केयरफुली. व्हाट इज द सेकंड रूल से? The second rule says, if there are two faces or surfaces in common, then the remaining faces are opposite to each other. We can draw this. दो frames of reference बनाते हैं. This is your first frame of reference. This is your second frame of reference. Let's say it has 1, 3 and 6. It has 1, 3 and 5. Right? Or you can draw it like, एक अलग डाइस के लिए बनाता हूं. It can be 2, 4 or 1. This is a different dice and I'm giving to you, right, 2, 4 and 1. Sorry, 1 nahi. 2, 4 and let's say 5. Right? For the first set, you have the same dice thrown one after the other. In both cases, how many numbers or how many faces do you have in common? You have 1, 1, 3, 3. There are two faces in common, right? What does the rule say? The rule says, if there are two faces in common, then the remaining faces are opposite to each other. Very simple, right? What will it say? That 6 and 5, which are the remaining faces, they will have to be opposite to each other. Cool? It does not matter location kya, placement kya. It really does not matter. The only thing you have to check for is how many faces in common, right? If there are two faces in common, remaining has to be opposite to each other. In this case, if there are two faces in common, here is 2, 4, 2 and 4. Remaining are 1 and 5. 1 has to be opposite to 5. This is what the rule says. Right? Very simple. बस यही आपको rules पता हो, questions आराम से solve होते हैं. Let's try and do a few questions. Are you game? Has anyone not understood this? जो जिसने नहीं समझा है वो बता सकता है. If there is somebody who's not understood any of this, just tell me. In both cases, remember, it does not matter what the location is. Only thing you have to check for is between the frames of references, how many faces in common. If there is only one face in common, right, go clockwise, start with the face that is in common, write them down, one below the other, then go clockwise for each frame of reference. In case there are two frames of references in common, the only rule you have to apply is the remaining faces have to be opposite to each other. Very, very simple. Now we'll try and do a few questions. Cool? All right. Let's try and solve a few questions. Okay. This is the question for you. Two positions of a cube are shown below. What will be opposite to the face containing 4? 4 के opposite क्या होगा? Try and solve this. Very simple question. Between two frames of reference, remember it's the same dice, right? Two positions of a cube. एक ही cube है, right? Okay. How many faces are in common? 1, 6 and 5, 2, 4 and 5. There is only 5 in common between the two of them. If there is only one face in common, the only thing you have to do is you have to go clockwise. Very simple. Write the common faces down, which is 5 and 5 in each case. For the first one, try and go clockwise. From 5, if you go clockwise, the clock moves like this, right? 5, then 6, then 1, 5, 6 and 1. For the second frame of reference, go clockwise. 5, 2 and 4. 5, 2 and 4. What does the rule say? The rule says 6 will be opposite to 2, 1 will be opposite 4. What will 5 be opposite to? 5 will be opposite to the remaining face. Right? We don't know what the remaining face is. We can't say. Right? Not yet. किसी ने बोला नहीं कि 1 to 4 है, 1 to 6 है, 1 to 7. We don't know what the remaining surface is. Right? In case अगर आपको ऑप्शन में दिया ही नहीं है cannot be determined, और अगर आपको लेके रखा हुआ है आपसे, आपके पास we have only 3 missing and you have 3 written there, तब आप select कर सकते हो. Right? There you can assume. But most often than not, you will find cannot be said लिखा होगा. अगर 3 लिखा है and cannot be said लिखा हुआ है, unless it has been mentioned that it is a standard dice or a non-standard dice, in which case, but in any case, they don't do it. Right? It's very simple. Just imagine 5 will be opposite to the remaining faces. The question was, 4 के opposite कौन सा है? 4 के opposite होगा 1. This is your answer. 4 will be opposite to 1. Very, very simple. Does anyone have any doubts? किसी को कोई डाउट नहीं? सबको आता है यार, ये सबने ए कर लिया, वेरी नाइस. ओके, लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट वन. ओके, अब बताओ, जो बोल रहा था कि नंबर्स होते हैं मेंशन्ड, लेट्स से इस केस में कौन सा नंबर मेंशन्ड है? राइट. 6 faces of a wooden block have been painted with colors green, yellow, red, black, pink and white. So you have been given 6 colors already. आपको 6 के 6 colors पता हैं. Right? 2 positions of this block are shown in the figure below. 2 frames of references आपको दिखा दी गई हैं. If the face with pink color is kept at the top, then the face with which color will be at the bottom? The first thing you have to remember is, if there is a face at the top, there is a face at the bottom, the top and bottom are opposite to each other. ये तो बिल्कुल common sensical बात है. The only thing you have to find out is, if the face at top is basically pink, pink के opposite कौन सा है? This is what you have to figure out. And now between these 2 frames of references, what all is in common? Is yellow here? There is no yellow. Is red here? There is no red. Is green here? There is green here, and there is green here. Only one face in common. Go clockwise, very simple. Green and green. Right? From here, try and go clockwise. Green के बाद आएगा red, red के बाद आएगा yellow, red and yellow. In this case, green के बाद आएगा pink and then आएगा black. Then आएगा pink, you'll have a black. Right? Yellow is opposite to black, red is opposite to pink. The question has been, what is the question trying to ask you? The question is asking you, if pink is the face at the top, what will be at the bottom? You basically have to find out pink के opposite कौन सा है? Pink के opposite is red. Right? So the answer should be B, which is red. In this case, green के opposite कौन सा होएगा? Green के opposite होगा the remaining surface. What all surfaces do we know? हमने कौन कौन सी देख ली है? Yellow देख ली, black देख ली, pink, red. Right? Pink, black, red, yellow and green. Remaining was white. So green will be opposite to white. अगर हो सकता है आपसे पूछ लिया जाता कि green के opposite कौन सा है, you could have figured it out. Very simple. Right? Is everyone clear on this? Let me know if I'm clear on this. Yes. Deepshika is right, Shivam is right. Very simple, right? It's the simplest thing. Questions on dices are the simplest questions that you can get. इससे आसान question कुछ नहीं होगा. ये इतना low hanging fruit है. If you get a question on this in your CSAT, it's a guarantee that you will make a 2.5. It depends कितने questions पूछे हुए हैं. जितने questions पूछे होंगे आप उतने आंसर सही करके आओगे. राइट? अब प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि अगर आपने ये भी प्रैक्टिस नहीं किया होगा, वहां बैठ के फिर आप सोच रहे हो कि हाँ इसको घुमाएंगे तो कैसा लगेगा. राइट? इट्स जस्ट अ मैटर ऑफ सेकंड्स. 5 सेकंड के अंदर एक क्वेश्चन डन हो जाता है. राइट? लेट्स डू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. इज एनीवन नॉट क्लियर ऑन दिस येट? कोई है जिसको ये समझ नहीं आया अभी तक? वो प्लीज बता सकता है मुझे. If there is somebody who is not clear on this yet, let me know. I will try and repeat it again. Not a problem. Cool. Let's move. Let's do the next one. Okay. 3 positions of a cube are shown below. What will come opposite to the face containing 4? Right? What will come opposite to the face containing 4? You basically have to find out कि 4 के opposite कौन सा है. Now, इधर एक चीज मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं. Remember, there are 3 frames of references. Typically, when you are given 3 frames of references, normally देखो यहां पर आपको कितने numbers दिख रहे हैं? आपको दिख रहा है 1, 3, 6, 2, 4 and 5. आपको 6 के 6 फेसेस दिख रहे हैं. You know कि इस डाइस पे 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 है. साथ में कोई दिख ही नहीं सकता, फेसेस ही 6 होते हैं. राइट? सो अगर आपको 6 के 6 नंबर्स पता है, in any case, if you are given a question like this, right? Normally, what you should do, should you go with the clockwise rule or should you go with the rule number 2? किस rule के साथ आप जाना prefer करोगे? How green is opposite to white? Please explain. Oh, in the last question. Cool. Let me try and explain it to you. पिछले वाले question में green is opposite to white कैसे हुआ था? Very very simple, right? You had been given green, yellow, red, black, pink and white. ये आपको मिले थे 6 के 6 faces, right? इस केस में हमारे पास green was in common, right? There is only one surface in common. Go clockwise. You write green, you write green. In this case, green से red, yellow, red and yellow. यहां से green के बाद pink and black, pink and black. Yellow is opposite to black. Red is opposite to pink. What will green be opposite to? Green will be opposite to the remaining face. right? You have yellow, black, red, pink. Black, pink, red, yellow. You also have green. Green भी आपके पास है. बची कौन सी surface? It was only white. Therefore, green will have to be opposite to the remaining face, which is white. Is it clear now? Is it clear, mister? Why so fast paced? Without pen and paper we can solve. Of course you can solve without pen and paper, but why? If you have pen and paper, Anmol, is it clear to you now? Clear है? मैं बहुत तेज बोल रहा हूं तो मुझे बता दीजिएगा. Slow down, things are not clear with this speed. And this is the first class only. Ishika, it's very, very simple. There are only two rules. The first rule is there only one face in common? The second rule talks about two faces in common, right? There is nothing else apart from this. Between two frames of references, if there is only one face in common, go clockwise. If there are two faces in common, the remaining face has to be opposite to each other. I'm good because Anmol now has figured it out. Okay. In this question, right, like I said, normally speaking, every time you're given, let's say, 3 frames of references, what will you choose to go with? Will you choose to go with the rule number 1, which is only one face in common? Will you look for those surfaces where there is only one face in common? Or will you try and find out कि 4 के opposite वाला कौन सा है and try and find out those surfaces in common? What will you normally do? Normally आप क्या करना चाहोगे? Will you want to go with rule number 1 or will you want to go with rule number 2? We can apply, yes, of course, Muskan, you can apply both rules in this question, but normally speaking, try and go with rule number 1. जितना पॉसिबल हो रूल नंबर 1 आप लगवाइए. रूल नंबर 1 क्यों लगाएंगे? आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि रूल नंबर 2 यूज ही नहीं करना है. व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज रूल नंबर 1 प्रेफर क्यों करोगे? प्रेफर इसलिए करोगे बिकॉज इन एनी केस इट गिव्स यू 2 pairs of opposite surfaces, right? Neelam is saying rule number 2, rule number 2. Most of you are saying rule number 2. I'm not particularly talking about this question. Because both answers will be the same. Yes. Typically, you should try and prefer going with rule number 1. Rule number 1 क्यों? Because in any case, rule number 1 gives you 2 pairs of opposite surfaces. And there is one that remains, वो हमेशा it will be opposite to the remaining face. Right? Rule number 1 से हमेशा आपको 2 pairs तो automatically मिल जाते हैं. तीसरा भी मिल जाता है in case you know all of these faces. Right? Rule number 2 में problem क्या है? Rule number 2 में हमेशा आपको एक ही surface मिलती है in common. Right? This is what you have to understand. Right? In this question, however, it's very easy. यहाँ तो आप 2 वाला rule number 2 लगा लो, आपका काम हो जाएगा. Right? 3 positions of a cube are shown. What will come opposite to the face containing 4? जिसके opposite 4 है, right? वो आपको ढूंढना पड़ेगा. In this case, let's talk about 4 के around कौन कौन सा है? There is 4 in common here, right? 6, 3. There is nothing in common except for 4. Between 1 and this, there is 1, 3, and if you try and use rule number 2 here, right? There are 2 faces in common, 6, 6, 3, and 3. If there are 2 faces in common between 2 frames of references, what does the rule say? The rule says that the remaining faces are opposite to each other. What are the remaining faces? It is 4 in this case. It is 1 in this case. If you apply rule number 2 to frame of reference 1 and this, you will get 1 is opposite to 4. Right? What will be opposite to face containing 4? It will be 1. Right? Ishika, is it clear to you now? Is it clear now? Right? Generally speaking, why do I tell you to go with rule number 1? Rule number 1 क्यों prefer करोगे? देखो, अगर आप rule number 1 लगाते, if it was very simple, right? इसमें और इस frame of reference में कितनी चीजें common है? You will have 6, 4 and 3, 2, 4 and 5. There is only 4 in common. If 4 is in common, write down 4 and then go clockwise. Right? इस case में 4 के बाद आएगा, there will be 3, then there will be 6, 3 and 6. इस केस में 4 is in common, 4 के बाद आएगा 2 and then आएगा 5, 2 and then 5. 3 is opposite 2, 6 is opposite 5, 4 is opposite to the remaining face, right? Now in these frame of references, आपको कितने numbers दिख रहे हैं? You can see 6, 3, 4, 5, 2 and 1. There are 6 numbers that you are given already. 6 फेसेस आपको पता है. रिमेनिंग फेस कौन सा था? Only 1. 4 will be opposite to 1. एक ही रूल में आपने तुरंत इसको सॉल्व कर दिया. Okay. Are you clear on this? Rule number 1, why do you prefer? Because एक ही रूल में आपको 2 पेयर तो ऑटोमेटिकली मिल जाते हैं, तीसरा भी आपको मिल जाएगा इन केस यू नो सारे के सारे फेसेस कौन से हैं. हाउ मेनी डिफरेंट फेसेस कैन यू सी? यू कैन सी द नंबर 3, 4, 6, 5, 2 and 1. You know all the 6 numbers. You know 2 pairs of opposite surfaces. 4 has to be opposite to the remaining one. Remaining कौन सा था? 1. Right? 4 will be opposite to 1. Very simple. Is it clear? Is it clear? Although इसमें आप रूल नंबर 2 लगा लो, आराम से आपको मिल जाएगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. जनरली स्पीकिंग प्रेफर टू गो विद रूल नंबर 1. रूल नंबर 1 में आपको 2 तो आपको ऑटोमेटिकली मिल जाता है, 3rd भी मिल जाता है इनकेस आपको सारे फेसेस पता है. Ishika is saying you're not getting it. Ishika, you did not understand nothing up until now? Okay. Once again, I'll try and repeat both rules. Rule number 1 was what? Rule 2. 1 बोलता है, if between two frames of references, you will find only one face in common. If there is only one face in common, go clockwise. इसी क्वेश्चन में करके देखते हैं. Right? There are 3 frames of references for the same cube. 3 दिए हुए हैं आपको. Right? Between, let's say, one frame of reference and the other. इन दो को कंपेयर करते हैं. How many things in common? 6 नहीं है, 4 है, 3 नहीं है. Only one number in common or only one face in common, which is 4. Rule number 1 अगर आप अप्लाई करते हो, you will find 4 in common, 4 in common. Write them down and then go clockwise. 4 से आप clockwise निकलोगे, then 4 से आप निकलो 3 and 6. 3 and 6. In case of this, 4 पे आप अपना पेन रखो, clockwise जाओ, 2 and then 5. 2 and then 5. According to this rule, 3 will be opposite to 2, 5 will be opposite to 6. What will 4 be opposite to? 4 will be opposite to the remaining face. Right? इस क्वेश्चन में आपको कहीं पर भी नहीं बोला हुआ है कि इसने कि भाई इस क्यूब पे नंबर्स 1 to 6 हैं, बोला नहीं है कहीं पर भी. बट इफ यू लुक एट ऑल 3 फ्रेम्स ऑफ रेफरेंसेस, कितने डिफरेंट नंबर्स आपको दिख रहे हैं. यू कैन सी अ 4, 6, 3. यू कैन सी अ 2, 5, 4 तो हमने ऑलरेडी देख लिया वहां पे. एंड यू कैन गेट 3, 6 हमने देख लिया, 1. यू नो कि इस क्यूब पे 1 to 6 है. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. इट्स द सेम क्यूब, एक ही क्यूब है. राइट? हमें पता है 3 इज ऑपोजिट टू 2, 3 और 2 चले गए. हमें पता है 6 इज ऑपोजिट टू 5, 6 and 5 चले गए. वी नो 4 इज ऑपोजिट टू द रिमेनिंग फेस. 4 इज ऑपोजिट टू द रिमेनिंग फेस. रिमेनिंग इज 1, therefore 4 has to be opposite to 1. Very simple. You get it? Is it clear? Is it clear to you? All right. Let's move to the next question. Cool. 3 positions of a dice are given below. Identify the number on the face opposite to 6. Right? Again, same dice है. 3 बारी थ्रो किया आपको. 3 frames of references आपको दिखा दिए गए. Now what is he asking you? He's asking you what will be written on the face opposite to 6. Right? Look at this. Right? You can do rule number 2, rule number 1. It does not matter. किसी से भी आप follow करो. Try and find out the first 2 frames of references. First 2 frames of references, what is in common? You have 3 in common, 3 in common, 6 in common, 6 in common. What you will get is, apply rule number 2, 2 will be opposite to 5. आपको पूछा गया 6 के opposite कौन है? कोई फायदा नहीं इस rule को apply करने का. Right? Between first and this one, you have 3 in common, you have, no, you don't have 2 and 6, you have 4 and 5. Between this and this, you have only 3 in common, एक ही face common है. Right? Try and apply the clockwise rule here. Write down 3 and 3 between this frame of reference and this one. Then go clockwise. 3 पे अपना पेन रखो, clockwise जाओ. 3, 2 and 6 and 6. In this case, 3 पे अपना पेन रखो, clockwise जाओ. 3, 5 and 4. 5 and 4. Cool? 2 will be opposite to 5, 6 will be opposite to 4. क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा है? What will be opposite to the face containing 6? 6 के opposite कौन सा है? There is 4. Answer should be B. Cool? Do you get it? Is everyone clear on this? Sagar is saying 5. Why are you saying 5, Sagar? Identify the number on the face opposite to 6. 6 के opposite कौन सा है? 6 के opposite is 4. 5 कहां से आ गया? Sagar, are you not clear on this? Can you please tell me? Sagar is saying 5. What if we apply rule number 1 on first two dices? If you apply rule number 1 on first two dices, rule number 1 on first two dices में आप कौन सा face common लोगे? Rule number 1 is if there is only one face in common. One face in common कौन सा है? यहाँ पर इन दोनों cases में 3 and 6 in common. How can you apply rule number 1 here? Rule number 1 is only in case between two frames of references if there is only one face in common. एक ही face in common है. यहाँ आपको दिख नहीं रहा कि दो faces हैं. 3, 6, 3, 6. How can you apply rule number 1 here? You have to apply rule number 2. Very simple. Cool? Am I going too fast? If I'm going too fast, just tell me. If I am going too fast, please tell me. If we throw rule number 2, we get the answer from second and third. Yes, you can. Kajal, you of course can. Right? Of course can get the answer. If the answer has to be the same in either case, koi bhi lagao, koi problem nahi. It does not matter. Ishika is saying, why this much speed? How fast am I talking? Am I talking really fast? Sir, please once again repeat how to do if you had to do it with rule number 2. If you have to do it with rule number 2, you will have to find out, you have been asked face opposite 6. 6 के opposite कौन सा वाला face है? Now look at this dice and this dice. How many faces are in common? 3, 5, 3 and 5. 2 faces in common. In दो के cases में you can apply rule number 2 because there are 2 faces in common. What does the rule say? The rule says if there are 2 faces in common, the remaining faces are opposite to each other. There is 3 and 5 in common, 3 and 5 in common, remaining कौन सा है? 6 and 4. Automatically 6 will be opposite to 4. Right? What will be the face opposite 6? It has to be 4. Still answer is B. Do you get it? Do you now get it? Oh God, this is... Okay, cool. If this is clear, we can move to the next question. Let's move to the next one. Alrighty. 3 positions of a cube are shown below. What will come opposite to the face containing E? Fine. Try and do this. इसको करिए. ये बहुत ही आसान होना चाहिए. 3 positions of a cube are shown below. What will come opposite to the face containing E? E के opposite कौन सा होना चाहिए? ये तो ऐसे देख के कर लोगे यार. ये तो मतलब this is a 5-second question. How can we deal with this question by rule number 1? It's the same thing. Aditya, if you have to apply rule number 1, you have to find 2 frames of references जिसमें सिर्फ एक फेस कॉमन है. राइट? मैं बता दूंगा इसको करके. ट्राई एंड डू इट. ये 5 सेकंड का क्वेश्चन है. इट्स नॉट अ बिग डील. बहुत ही आसान क्वेश्चन है. दिस शुड नॉट बी अ प्रॉब्लम टू यू व्हाटसोएवर. राइट? What will be the one containing the opposite face containing E? E के opposite कौन सा आपको वो बताना है. Very simple. Right? इसमें रूल नंबर 2 भी लग जाएगा, रूल नंबर 1 भी लग जाएगा. जो आपको लगाना लगा लो. रूल नंबर 2 से 2 मिनट में हो जाएगा. मतलब 2 मिनट में बोल रहा हूँ, बहुत ज्यादा ही बता रहा हूँ. 10 seconds भी नहीं लगेंगे इसको करने के लिए. Right? If you apply, find out these frames of references. इन दो को अगर आप देखते हो, इन दो में आपको दिखता है what is in common? There is C in common, there is F and F in common. Between these 2 frames of references, 2 faces are in common, CF, CF. Right? Apply rule number 2 here. Rule number 2 क्या कहता है? If there are 2 faces in common, remaining have to be opposite to each other. Remaining is E and A. E has to be opposite to A. Very simple. Right? What will come opposite to the face containing E? It has to be A. Option C. Right? Rule number 1 से इसी question को करते हैं. रूल नंबर 1 लगाने से पहले सबसे पहले आप चेक करोगे आपको कितने डिफरेंट अल्फाबेट्स दिख रहे हैं. यू कैन सी एन ए, बी, डी, ई, सी एंड एफ. यू ऑलरेडी हैव 6 ए, बी, सी, डी, ई एंड एफ. आपको पता है 6 के 6 फेसेस पे यही अल्फाबेट्स हैं, राइट? यहां पर भी देख लो सी, ए एंड एफ, वो तो लिखा रखा है, सी भी लिखा है, ए भी लिखा है, एफ भी लिखा हुआ है. 6 आपको पता है. रूल नंबर 1 कहां लगता है? जहां पर आपको यू हैव ओनली वन फेस इन कॉमन. बिटवीन दीज टू हाउ मेनी फेसेस इन कॉमन? A, B, D, C, E, F, nothing in common. Between this and this, there are two faces in common, C and F, C and F. तो यहाँ तो rule number 1 नहीं लगा सकते. Between this and this, how many faces in common? A is in common, A is in common, not C, F, not B, D. So basically, between 1 and 3, you have only one face in common, right? Which one is that? This is A, this is A. Write it down, A and A. From A, go clockwise. A पे पेन रखो, clockwise जाओगे तो A, C and F. A, C and F. इस केस में A पे पेन रखो, go clockwise, A, D and B. A, D and B. D will be opposite C, B will be opposite F, A will be opposite to the remaining face. हमें कौन कौन सी पता है? B, F, C, D. B, C, D, F. A के opposite हमें बताना है. A के opposite कौन सा होगा? The remaining one. Remaining is only E. A will be opposite to E. Very simple. Do you get it? Do you understand this? You can do this by rule number 1, but you can do this by rule number 2. कोई problem नहीं है. You will, in both these cases, you'll get the same answer. It has to be option C, right? What will be opposite to the face containing the letter E? It has to be A. Cool? Can we move on? Can we move on? Let me know if we can move on. Cool. Moving on to the next one. Okay. Now, closed eyes में यही था. Closed eyes में there is nothing else. It's just अगर आपको एक फेस इन कॉमन पता है, go clockwise. अगर आपको दिख रहा है 2 फेसेस इन कॉमन है, then the remaining faces have to be opposite to each other, and there is nothing more to any of these questions. उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं है. क्लोज डाइस भी आपको दिया होता है. दूसरे टाइप के क्वेश्चन होते हैं जहां आपको डाइस थोड़ी खोल के दे दी गई, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस वॉज अ डाइस. इमेजिन करते हैं इस पे ए लिखा हुआ है, राइट? इमेजिन करो इस पे ए लिखा है, इस पे बी, इस पे सी, इस पे डी, ई एंड एफ, राइट? इसी डाइस को अगर हमने खोल दिया, अगर हमने इसको खोल दिया, ए इस तरफ गिर गया, दिस इज ए, दिस इज बी, this one is, this flap is C, this one is F, this is E and this is D. सेम डाइस है, डाइस को खोल दिया, राइट? अब खोल के आपको इस तरीके से दिख रही है, हो सकता है किसी भी तरीके से खोल के दिखा दे, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, राइट? द मोमेंट ही हैज ओपन्ड दिस डाइस अप, द ओनली रूल यू हैव टू अप्लाई इज, रिमेंबर दिस वन एंड राइट इट डाउन. द रूल इज along any axis, alternate faces are opposite to each other. Write this rule down. The moment you have written it down, I will explain it to you. Just write this rule down. इस रूल को आप लिख लीजिए. Right? There has been a dice. The dice has been opened up. Once you have gotten an open dice, remember this rule. The rule says along any axis, alternate faces have to be opposite to each other. Just write it down. The moment you have written it down, tell me. The moment you tell me, I'll try and explain it to you. Ishika, you're saying not getting. Ishika, मैंने भी तो explain ही कुछ नहीं किया, तो what will you be getting? I think you have a problem, serious problem here, right? Just write this rule down and then I'll try to explain it to you. Done, done, done. Is it rule number 3, sir? Naveen, this is for open dices. Open dices के केस में there is only one rule. This rule is if you find an open dice, अगर आपको एक खुली हुई dice दिखती है, this is the only rule that you apply. Right? The rule is go along any axis, right? You will find that the alternate faces are opposite to each other. मैं अभी समझाऊंगा, पहले लिख लो. Right? If you have written it down, I will try and explain it to you. Along any axis का मतलब क्या? If this is how they have opened the dice for you, right? There are only two axes that you can possibly find. There is one axis here, right? And then there is one more axis here, right? यहां एक एक्सिस आपको दिख रहा है, यहां एक एक्सिस आपको दिख रहा है. Very simple. If you go along this axis, the rule says alternate faces are opposite to each other. Alternate का मतलब क्या है? एक skip करके दूसरा, right? F के alternate कौन सा होगा? B. E के alternate कौन सा होगा? D. Very simple, right? Go along this axis, alternate faces, F के alternate will be B, E के alternate will be D. Alternate मतलब एक छोड़ के दूसरा वाला, right? They will be opposite to each other. What you will find is F is opposite B, E is opposite D. E के alternate कौन सा है? D. Right? Cool. F is opposite B, E is opposite D. Right? Remember, किसी भी डाइस में there can only be 3 pairs of opposite faces. आपको 2 pairs पता हैं. Remaining has to be opposite to each other. Remaining कौन सा बचा आपके पास? A and C. A has to be opposite to C. Right? There can only be 3 pairs of opposite faces ना. किसी भी डाइस को अगर आप देखोगे 3 ही pairs of opposite faces होते हैं. 2 आपको पता है, तीसरा automatically has to be opposite to each other. In any case, if you go along this axis, अगर इस axis के along चले जाओ, इसमें C के alternate कौन सा है? A. C has to be alternate to, C has to be opposite to A. This is the only rule that you have to remember. Do you get it? Do you now get it? Very, very simple. In any case, कभी भी आपको कोई डाइस दिखता है, राइट? ऑपोजिट फेसेस कौन कौन से हैं? अगर ये A है और एक पीछे वाला है, उस पर B लिखा हुआ है, A and B are to be opposite to each other. If this is the top one, this is the bottom one. Top is opposite to the bottom. If this is the right side, and say this is the left side, right and left are opposite to each other. In any case, in any dice, in any cube, there can only be 3 pairs of opposite faces. अगर आपको 2 पता चल जाते हैं, तीसरा तो ऑटोमेटिकली ऑपोजिट ही होगा एक दूसरे के. नॉर्मल सी बात है, समझने की कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है इसको. बहुत हैवी कॉन्सेप्ट तो नहीं है, राइट? इन केस यूर गिवन एन ओपन डाइस, अगर आपको खुली हुई डाइस देके रखी हुई है, द ओनली रूल यू हैव टू गो विद इज अलोंग एनी एक्सिस alternate faces are opposite to each other. Very, very simple. Do you get it? Let's move to questions. Questions करके देखते हैं. इसी का अगर नहीं समझ में आया मेरे को बता दो. Generally speaking, okay. Okay, fine. I'm not getting no answers. Let's move to the next one. Right? Look at this question. This has been an open dice. खोल के दे दिया आपको डाइस. हो सकता है किसी भी तरीके से खोल के दे दी हो. It's not necessary अगर इसी शेप में देगा, किसी भी शेप में दे सकता. It does not matter. Right? Now this has been given to you from the given option. Which answer figure can be formed by folding the figures given in the question? इनमें से कौन सा डाइस है जो बन सकता है if the open dice is this one? Right? If you have opened a dice like this, which of these cubes can you form? How do you go about this question? There is only one rule that you could have followed. The rule is along any axis, alternate faces are opposite to each other. Very simple. कितने आपको axis दिख रहे हैं? एक तो आपको axis दिख रहा है ये, एक आपको axis दिख रहा है ये, एक आपको axis दिख रहा है ये. Right? 3 ही axis दिख रहे हैं आपको. इस axis को और इस axis को ले सकोगे, इसको यूज कर सकते हो? कर ही नहीं सकते. क्यों? क्योंकि इसमें तो कोई ऑल्टरनेट ही नहीं है. देयर आर ओनली 2 फेसेस. दो ही फेसेस दे रखे हैं. जब ऑल्टरनेट है नहीं तो इसको हम कैसे यूज करें? हमारे पास प्रैक्टिकली स्पीकिंग एक ही एक्सिस बचा जिसको हम यूज कर सकते हैं. वेरी सिंपल, राइट? इफ यू गो अलोंग दिस एक्सिस, इसको हटाते हैं. राइट, बिकॉज दीज आर यूजलेस एक्सिस फॉर अस. इसमें तो ऑल्टरनेट ही नहीं है, इसमें दो दो फेसेस दे रखे हैं. राइट, नाउ यू हैव टू गो अलोंग दिस एक्सिस ओनली. इफ यू गो अलोंग दिस एक्सिस, द रूल वाज ऑल्टरनेट फेसेस आर ऑपोजिट टू ईच अदर. 6 के ऑल्टरनेट कौन सा आता है? 6 के बाद एक स्किप कर दो, 3. वेरी सिंपल. 4 is opposite to 2. Very simple, right? 6 is opposite 3. 4 is opposite 2. This is what the rule was, right? अब आपके पास 2 pairs of opposite faces, you know. There can only be 3 pairs of opposite faces. The remaining faces are to be opposite to each other. Normal सी बात है. 3 ही pairs of opposite faces होते हैं. 2 आपको पता है. तीसरे जो बच गए 5 and 1, they have to be opposite to each other, right? Write down 1 is opposite to 5. Right? Now look at this. You have 3 possibilities. Right? 6 is opposite 3, 4 is opposite 2, 1 is opposite 5. आपसे पूछा गया नीचे वाले क्यूब्स में से which one of those cubes is possible. Possible का मतलब क्या है? What you will have to check for is जो भी आपको नीचे क्यूब्स दे रखे हैं, you will have to check कि कहीं opposite faces को adjacent तो नहीं दिखा दिया है. This is the only thing that you have to check for. In the case, let's say, go इधर से चलते हैं. 1, 2 and 5. 1 is opposite to what? 1 is opposite to 5. In this case, 1 and 5 are shown adjacent to each other. Adjacent हो सकते हैं? Not possible. ये तो है ही नहीं. Let's look at this one. 6, 3 and 5. 6 is opposite to 3. 6 and 3 have been shown as adjacent to each other. हो सकता है? Is that a possibility? Certainly not. C is also not a possibility. Let's look at this one. 1, 3 and 5. 1 is opposite to 5. 1 has been shown adjacent to 5. Can you have this as an answer? No. By elimination, only this as an answer. But एक बारी check कर लेते हैं. 1 is opposite to what? 1 is opposite to 5. हो सकता है कि इसके नीचे 5 हो. 3 is opposite to what? 3 is opposite to 6. 6 दिखाया उसका adjacent? नहीं दिखाया. हो सकता है 6 यहाँ पर लिखा हुआ. Right? 2 is opposite to 4. 2 के कहीं adjacent 4 दिखाया? नहीं दिखाया. तो हो सकता है 2 के opposite इस तरफ हो. The only possibility is option number A. Right? Is anyone not clear on this? Please tell me. If anyone is not clear on this, please tell me. कोई है जिसको इसमें परेशानी हो रही है? The rule is pretty simple. If you have been given an open dice, alternate faces are opposite to each other. That's the only thing that you have to remember. खोल के दे दिया dice, right? 3 axes आपको दिख रहे हैं, 1, 6 वाला, 3, 5 वाला and ये वाला. इसको कोई ये किसी काम का है नहीं, ये किसी काम का है नहीं, क्योंकि इसमें कोई ऑपोजिट है ही नहीं. मतलब देयर इज नो अल्टरनेट फेसेस, 2 ही दिए हुए हैं. राइट? आपके पास एक ही काम की एक्सिस बनती है, वो ये वाली है. रूल क्या है? अल्टरनेट फेसेस आर ऑपोजिट टू ईच अदर. 6 is opposite to 3, 2 is opposite to 4, 6 is opposite to 3, 2 is opposite to 4, because there can only be 3 pairs of opposite faces. 2 हमको पता है, the remaining faces हैं, they have to be opposite to each other. 1 is opposite to 5. Right? Now from the figures given here, right, you have to find out कौन सी इसमें से possible है. That is to say, only एक ही होगा जो possible होगा. Right? Check for whether any of these opposite faces are shown as adjacent. अगर adjacent दिखा दी हुई हैं तो वो possibility है ही नहीं, because the opposite faces हैं. Right? We used elimination and we found that option A is the correct answer. Can I move to the next one? Can I move to the next one? Sangham is saying option B. Sangham, are you clear on this one? Sangham, can you please tell me if this is clear to you? You said option B. Option B में 1, 3 and 5. Right? 1 is opposite to 5. 1 has been shown adjacent to 5. तो ये possibility हो ही नहीं सकती. 5 has to be opposite to 1. Can't be adjacent. Therefore, this is not the possibility. I'll move to the next question. Let's push to the next question. Cool. You have been given this figure. Try and do this for me. ये करके बताइए. जैसे आप कर लेंगे, give me the answer. I'm giving you around 30 seconds to do this. Shouldn't take more. Which of the following cubes in the answer figure cannot be made? कैन नॉट बी मेड. ध्यान देना, जब भी आपको कैन नॉट बी होता है या नॉट वाला क्वेश्चन होता है, उसको हमेशा इनसर्कल कर दो. पूछा हुआ कैन नॉट बी मेड, दैट इज टू से इन चार में से तीन होंगे जो बन सकते होंगे, एक ही होगा जो नहीं बन सकता होगा. यू हैव टू पिक दैट वन. राइट? Try and do it for me. I'll give you 20 more seconds and then I'll do it for you. $20 seconds. There are people saying B, there are people saying C also. B, C. Cool. Okay, there are people who are saying A also. A, B, B. Sanjeev is saying B, B, B. All right. I'm guessing most of you will have done it, right? This is a question of open dice. Open dice, we have only one rule to follow. The rule is, right, go along any axis. Alternate faces have to be opposite to each other. In this case, we have two axes for sure. एक तो हुआ हमारे पास ये वाला axis. Another is this वाला axis. Right? खोल के हमें dice देके रखी हुई है. Now, apply the rule. The rule will say alternate faces are opposite to each other. This is opposite to, star is opposite to the square one, right? The cross. This is opposite to this one, right? Along this axis, star is opposite to this one. Very simple, right? लिख सकते हैं इसको. The face with star is opposite to which one? This one. The face with what looks like a target is opposite to which one? This is opposite to Bangladesh ka map without any colors. Now this one with star is opposite to which one? Star is opposite to the one that says 4. Right? These are the three pairs of opposite surfaces. हमसे पूछा हुआ है cannot be made. Cannot be made का मतलब क्या है? तीन में से वैसे होंगे जो बन सकते होंगे, एक ही होगा जो बन नहीं सकता है. Let's go one by one. In the first case, स्टार किसके ऑपोजिट है? स्टार इज ऑपोजिट टू 4. स्टार को एडजेसेंट दिखाया 4 के? नहीं दिखाया. गुड इनफ. व्हाट इज दिस वन ऑपोजिट टू? दिस इज ऑपोजिट टू द स्क्वायर वन. हमें इसको नहीं दिखाया इसके एडजेसेंट में, राइट? दिस हैज नॉट बीन शोन एज एडजेसेंट. ग्रेट. नाउ दिस वन टारगेट इज ऑपोजिट टू द वन विद द सर्कल. द वन विद द सर्कल हैज नॉट बीन शोन एडजेसेंट टू इट. सो ये तो पक्का बन सकता है. क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है कैन नॉट बी मेड. ये तो 100% बन सकता है. सो दिस कैन नॉट बी आवर आंसर. नाउ लुक एट दिस वन. The one with star is opposite to the 4 square wala one, right? But star has been shown adjacent to the 4 square wala one. This and this are opposite to each other, right? This and this have been shown adjacent to each other. Therefore, this certainly is the one that cannot be made. फिर भी हम चेक कर लेते हैं बाकियों के लिए, right? इसको चेक करते हैं. This one is opposite to this one. Has this been shown adjacent here? कहीं पर adjacent नहीं दिखाया. Great. Target wala is opposite to the circle wala. Has this been shown as an adjacent figure? Never been shown as an adjacent figure. Cool. Now this one is opposite to the star one. Star wala bhi nahi dikhaya. Quite obviously this can be made. Look at this one. This circle is opposite to the target one, right? ये तो नहीं दिख रहा. Great. इस star को देखो. Star is opposite to the 4 squares, right? ये भी नहीं है. This is opposite to the star one. ये भी एडजेसेंट नहीं दिखाया हुआ. तो ये भी बनाया जा सकता है, ये भी बनाया जा सकता है, ये भी बनाया जा सकता है. इट्स ओनली बी दैट कैन नॉट बी मेड. रिमेंबर क्वेश्चन में लिखा है कैन नॉट बी मेड. द मोमेंट यू फाइंड नॉट, नेगेशन कहीं आपको क्वेश्चन में दिखता है, इन सर्कल कर लो. कूल. ऑप्शन बी इज द करेक्ट ऑप्शन फॉर दिस वन. क्वेश्चन हैज बीन कैन नॉट बी मेड. ये पूछा है कि इनमें से कौन सा नहीं बनाया जा सकता है. It's only this that cannot be made. Why? Because this is opposite to this one. Star was opposite to 4 dots. Star and 4 dots here have been shown adjacent to each other. That cannot be done. This is your answer. Cool. Can we move to the next one? Sagar is saying A. Why are you saying A though? Sagar, are you clear on this? Yes, B should be correct. Yes, B has to be correct. Let's move to the next one. Next कर लेते हैं. थोड़ा सा लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी बढ़ाते हुए हम इसको बात करते हैं. राइट? रिमेंबर इन क्वेश्चंस जहां आपसे पूछा है ना कैन बी मेड, कैन नॉट बी मेड, दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. जहां नॉट आपको दिख जाता है ना क्वेश्चन में, उसको वहीं इंसर्कल कर दिया करो. राइट? बिकॉज दीज आर वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन. इनको करने के लिए 5 सेकंड नहीं लगते इस क्वेश्चन को करने के लिए. अगर इसमें गलत कर दिया क्योंकि यू मिस द नॉट देयर, व्हाट्स द पॉइंट? राइट? This is the question now. From the given options, which figures can be formed by? आपको ये ओपन डाइस देके रखी हुई है. अब आपसे पूछा है इनमें से can be formed. Which of these can be formed? Which is to say 3 नहीं बन पा रही होंगी, एक बन सकती होगी. Right? You will have to find that one. कौन सी वाली है? Can people do? Oh, okay, I'm getting in your way. Right? Try and do this. ये थोड़ा सा हल्का सा, the most difficult you can make it is basically this. इससे ज्यादा क्या ही कर पाएंगे? ऐसा ही क्वेश्चन होगा. इस क्वेश्चन को आप कैसे करेंगे? Try and do this and tell me what the answer is. People are saying D, D, B. Okay. D. D is the right answer. Okay, we will have to check. If there is somebody जो कर ही नहीं पा रहा है इस क्वेश्चन को, वो मेरे को बता दे. बता दे मेरे से हिल नहीं रहा, तो मुझे हाथ के हाथ बता दीजिए. We will try and do this here itself. Cool. You've been given an open dice. Somebody saying A, somebody saying B, somebody saying D. The question is, from the given options, which of these figures can be formed? कौन सी figure बन सकती है? Ishika, I think you have a... Okay, Kajal also has problems. Sir, please explain this. Of course, I will explain this one. I'm just asking you, some people will have a difficulty even figuring this one. इसको कैसे करना है? Right? Let's try and do this one. Okay. So in this, you have been given an open dice. नॉर्मल सी बात है, खुली हुई डाइस दिख रही है, बंद तो नहीं दिख रही. राइट? इसके लिए सिर्फ आंखें चाहिए. राइट? अब बताइए रूल क्या था ओपन डाइस में? अलोंग एनी एक्सिस alternate figures or alternate faces are opposite to each other. Right? कितने एक्सिस आपको दिख रहे हैं? You can see this one, you can see this one, you can see this one, and you can see this one. कई सारे आपको एक्सिस दिख रहे हैं. इनमें से यूजलेस एक्सिस कौन कौन से हैं? इस वाले एक्सिस को आप यूज कर सकते हैं, पी एन आर वाले को नहीं कर सकते. क्यों? क्योंकि इसमें ऑल्टरनेट ही नहीं है कोई. इसमें सिर्फ 2 ही फेसेस दे रखे हैं, किसी काम का नहीं. आप जेड एंड पी वाले एक्सिस को यूज कर सकते हैं, आप यूज ही नहीं कर सकते. क्यों? क्योंकि ऑल्टरनेट तो इसमें कोई सवाल ही नहीं उठता. देयर आर ओनली 2 फेसेस, यूजलेस. अब वाई एंड क्यू वाले को यूज कर सकते हैं? नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि ऑल्टरनेट ही कुछ नहीं है. ओनली एक्सिस दैट यू कैन पॉसिबली यूज इज दिस वन, एक्स क्यू एंड जेड वन. वाई? बिकॉज इसमें एटलीस्ट एक ऑल्टरनेट फेस तो हमारे पास है. राइट? we'll have to go with this axis. Rule was, किसी भी axis के along जाओ, alternate faces have to be opposite to each other, right? X is opposite to Z. This is what you can figure out. X is opposite to Z. X and Z are alternates. They are opposite to each other. इसके अलावा हमें कुछ नहीं पता चल रहा है इसमें, right? Now what do we do? इसके बाद हम क्या करें? हमारा रूल तो यहां पर फेल हो गया, राइट? अब हम क्या करें? बहुत ही सिंपल सी चीज है, राइट? फॉर यू टू अप्लाई दिस रूल, डू वन थिंग, राइट? अलोंग एनी एक्सिस, आप किसी भी एक्सिस पे जाइए. टू अप्लाई दिस रूल, ट्राई एंड इमेजिन कि आप इसको फ्लिप करके यहां रख रहे हैं, राइट? अगर आप इस सरफेस को सुपर इंपोज कर दो, इस वाले पार्ट को आप इसके ऊपर फोल्ड करके रख दो, right? The resultant figure you will find will be something like this. If you fold it, right, you will find ऐसा सा कुछ आपको. If you fold this figure and put it here on top of it, right, that means ये तो रहा y, ये रहा x. जब हम इसको फोल्ड करके इसके ऊपर रखेंगे, z will superimpose on q. यहां आपको दिखेगा z. हम इसको फोल्ड करके यूं रख रहे हैं, राइट? p वाला जो है वो इस तरफ आ जाएगा, दिस शुड बी p, एंड p के इस तरफ कौन सा था? r. जब इसको आप फोल्ड करेंगे, r जो है यहां पर आ जाएगा, r will come here. किसी को ये समझने में प्रॉब्लम हुई? थोड़ी सी इमेजिनेशन यूज करनी है. ओके, ऑलराइट. If you just fold it and superimpose it on this one, इसको आप फोल्ड करके यूं कर दीजिए. The moment you have folded it, that means Z will superimpose on Q. इसको आप फोल्ड करेंगे तो Z Q के ऊपर आ जाएगा, P इस तरफ आ जाएगा एंड R ऊपर आ जाएगा, राइट? P will be here, R will be here. Now you can apply the rule again. आपने इसको फोल्ड कर दिया, दोबारा आप रूल अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. Along this axis, Y will be opposite to P. We had X is opposite to Z. We found Y is opposite to P, right? Remaining faces have to be opposite to each other. Y, P, X, Z. बचे कौन से हमारे पास? Q and R. Q and R have to be opposite to each other, right? तीनों आपको मिल चुके हैं. अब आप इसमें से बताइए कौन सी चीज पॉसिबल है और कौन सी चीज नहीं, राइट? इट्स वेरी वेरी सिंपल. थोड़ी सी इमेजिनेशन आपको यूज करनी है. आपका रूल नॉर्मली इसी पे लग सकता था. आपको इससे सिर्फ एक चीज मिली कि x इज ऑपोजिट z. सेम रूल को अप्लाई करने के लिए द ओनली थिंग यू हैव टू डू इज यू हैव टू टेक दिस वन एंड फोल्ड इट, सुपर इंपोज इट. यहां पर इसको फोल्ड करके इस तरफ ले आइए. जैसे आप इसको फोल्ड करके इस पर इसके ऊपर चढ़ा देंगे, z के ऊपर आ जाएगा, q के ऊपर आ जाएगा z, p आ जाएगा यहां पे एंड r आ जाएगा यहां पे, राइट? नाउ यू कैन अप्लाई द रूल. Opposite alternate faces are opposite to each other. Y is opposite P. X is opposite Z. ये तो हमें पहले से ही पता था. There can only be 3 pairs of opposite surfaces. दो हमको पता है. Remaining faces have to be opposite to each other. Remaining कौन कौन सी बची थी हमारे पास? Q and R. Q has to be opposite to R. Very simple. Now check. Right? In the first case, X is opposite to Z. X and Z have been shown as adjacent to each other. This definitely cannot be made. A तो नहीं है possibility. B को देखते हैं. X, R and Q. X is opposite to Z. Z तो नहीं दिखाया adjacent, कोई बात नहीं. Q is opposite to R. Q and R have been shown adjacent to each other. This is also not a possibility. For this one, Y, Z and P. Z is opposite to, Y is opposite to P. Y and P have been shown adjacent to each other. ये भी नहीं है. By elimination only D ही आंसर होना चाहिए. फिर भी चेक कर लेते हैं. X, R and P. X is opposite to Z. कहीं Z आपको एडजेसेंट दिखाया है? नहीं दिखाया है. ग्रेट, राइट? R इज ऑपोजिट टू Q. Q हैज नॉट बीन शोन एडजेसेंट. कूल. P इज ऑपोजिट टू Y. Y भी आपको P के एडजेसेंट दिखाया है? नहीं दिखाया है. देयरफॉर D इज द करेक्ट आंसर. आर यू गेटिंग इट? Sir, we apply superimposition to any question like this one. Of course, Avnish, you can apply superimposition to any question like this one. Try and find out कोई भी अगर आपको एक्सेस मिल ही रहा है, अगर आपको दो पेयर्स ऑफ ऑपोजिट फेसेस मिल गए, देन यू डोंट हैव टू अप्लाई सुपरइम्पोजिशन. वो तो इन केस ऑफ दिस वी कैन ओनली अप्लाई द फर्स्ट रूल नॉर्मली एंड गेट एक्स इज ऑपोजिट टू जेड. और एक पेयर से तो हमारा चलेगा नहीं. वी नीड अनदर 2, राइट? जब आपके पास कोई और एक्सेस नहीं खोल रही है, देन ट्राई एंड अप्लाई सुपरइम्पोजिशन. I put R below Z and put P with Q, then I also get the same answer. Is this method right? I put R below Z. R below Z. Oh, if you're saying, if you're trying to do this one, yeah, you can do this. Of course you can do this. If you fold it on this direction, Q will be opposite to R. Only thing, right? Then Q will be opposite to R. तो हमारे पास remaining एक ही surface बचेगा, still बच जाएगा. Right? Sir, what if we made axes as ordinates? You mean x-axis and y-axis? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? Do you get it? I hope you have understood it. It's very, very simple, राइट आपको अगर नहीं मिल पा रहा एक बस आपको एक ही पेयर ऑफ ऑपोजिट सर्फेसेस दिख रही हैं, देन यू यूज दी सुपर इम्पोजिशन रूल, अदरवाइज देयर इज नो पॉइंट। क्या फायदा जबरदस्ती का सुपर इम्पोजिशन करने का? इसमें आपको ओपन फेस में आपको एक ही पेयर ऑफ ऑपोजिट दिख रहा था, यू हैड टू फाइंड आउट द रिमेनिंग टू। इन दिस केस अप्लाई सुपर इम्पोजिशन, नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम। कैसे भी सुपर इम्पोजिशन कर लो, कोई इशू नहीं होता, राइट? Shailendra is asking, can we fold from any direction? Yes, Shailendra, you can fold from any direction. The only thing that you have to be concerned about is if you are folding it, you must have alternate faces. Alternate faces अगर आपको मिल रहे हैं, fold कर लीजिए, कोई issue नहीं होता, कोई problem नहीं है. You want to fold it this way, do it. If you want to fold इसको अगर आपने नीचे लेके आना है, तब भी कर लो, कोई problem नहीं होती. Not an issue, कुछ नहीं होगा. Right? जैसे आपको fold करना है, आप कर सकते हो. Right? In any case, जैसे आपको X and Z तो आपको मिल ही चुका है opposite. इसके बारे में वरी ना करते हुए बाकी किसी भी तरीके से फोल्ड कर दो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं। कैन आई डू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन? लेट्स डू दिस वन। ये वाला क्वेश्चन करते हैं। लेट्स डू दिस क्वेश्चन एंड देन वी कैन ब्रेक। इसको कर लेते हैं, फिर हम ब्रेक कर लेंगे। Ishika, if you can please try and listen to me very carefully without having to rampantly type on your screen, I think you will be better off. You're right now, I think you're concentrating mostly on typing. Don't type. It's a very simple concept. Try and go back on this. I've tried to explain it 3 times and 4 times. It's very easy. All of the other people are getting it. How to do it in other cases? Okay. Okay. I will try and explain to you superimposition. दोबारा मैं करके दिखा दूंगा, अलग तरीके से भी करके दिखा दूंगा. Don't worry. We have a few questions more on this one. Don't worry about that. Try and do this one first. इस क्वेश्चन को आप कर लीजिए, बहुत ही सिंपल क्वेश्चन है, राइट? इसमें there is one thing that I have to show you that is important, right? एक बार वो देख लीजिए, then I will try and explain it to you. All right. Once again, it's a case of an open dice. Ishika, try and concentrate here. Not the most difficult of problems. It's a question of open dice, right? The rule for an open dice is go along any axis. Alternate faces are opposite to each other. How many axes can you see on this one? You see this axis. एक axis आपको यहाँ दिखता है. एक axis आपको ये दिखता है. Another axis you can find is this one, right? The rule is along any axis, alternate faces are opposite to each other. Alternate faces, that is, एक को छोड़ के अगला वाला. Along this axis, can you find an alternate case? Right? These are adjacent to each other. Alternate का तो सवाल ही नहीं उठता है. So this is a useless axis for you. For this axis too, right? There are only 2 faces. Both of them are adjacent to each other. There is no concept of alternate. Alternate हो ही नहीं रहा. तो ये axis भी useless है आपके लिए. The only axis that will work for you is this one, right? Now, if this is the axis that works for you, यही एक axis काम का है. Apply the rule. The rule says along any axis, alternate faces are opposite to each other, right? This and this are alternate. This is opposite to this one. A is opposite to this one, right? Very simple. You can write down blank is opposite to blank. The face with A is opposite to the face with this painted black, right? A and black, blank and blank opposite to each other. यहां तक समझ में आ रहा है? Ishita, can you please tell me if this is clear to you or not? If you can please tell me, then I can proceed, right? If A is opposite to black one, blank is opposite to the blank one, in any dice, there can only be 3 pairs of opposite faces. कोई भी आप dice उठाओ, right? Only 3 faces are opposite to, 3 pairs of faces are opposite to each other. 2 pairs तो हमको मिल चुके हैं. if we have two pairs already, that is to say चार faces हमको पता है, right? जो remaining दो faces हैं, they have to be opposite to each other. There can only be three pairs of opposite faces. Remaining कौन कौन से बचे हमारे पास? ये वाला and ये वाला. Very simple. This has to be opposite to the one with black. Very simple. यहां तक समझ में आया? If you have understood this, let me know, then I will proceed. Please tell me. Ishita, are you clear on this though? Just tell me. I can't find a response now. Alrighty, not a problem. Okay? So what you have is the blank surface is opposite to the blank surface. The one with A written on it is opposite to the surface which is painted black. The one with a cross on it is opposite to the surface which is painted black. Very simple. You have all three pairs of opposite faces. Right? Now look at these options. In the first option, you have given A, black and black. Check for A. A is opposite to black. Right? And cross is opposite to black. A has to be opposite to one of the black faces. There are two black faces. दो तो हैं. दो में से एक से तो A को opposite होना ही है. In this case, A has been shown adjacent to both black faces. हो ही नहीं सकता. Do you get it now? This is not a possibility. Now look at option B. Option B says A, cross and black. A is opposite to black, cross is opposite to black, blank is opposite to this one. A is opposite to one of the blank surfaces. Very simple, right? A, if this is A, back वाला side होगा black, because एक black तो दे रखा है. If this has to be the case, A has to be opposite to black one, not a problem, right? ये वाला black has to be opposite to the cross, right? Black is opposite to the cross. हो सकता है क्या? Black has been shown in both these cases. If A is opposite to the black, both the blacks are adjacent to this surface. One of the blacks has to be, you can say, opposite to this cross one, right? तो ये भी नहीं हो सकता. Not a possibility. Now look at this one. You have two blanks and a cross. Blank is opposite to blank. यहाँ पर blank and blank have been shown adjacent to each other. तो ये भी possibility नहीं हो सकती. Remaining possibility सिर्फ और सिर्फ ये है. कैसे? Cross is opposite to which one? Cross is opposite to the one with black on it, right? Cross के opposite आप black लगा सकते हो. Blank is opposite to the blank one. Blank is opposite to the blank. आप चाहो तो नीचे blank लगा सकते हो. And remaining black surface is opposite to A. आप remaining black surface पे A लगा सकते हो. Right? Only possibility out of these is D. Do you get it? All right? It's very simple. The other thing that you have to see here is, for example, in this case, right? Remaining, देखो, आपको यहाँ पर तीन faces दिख रहे हैं. तीनों are adjacent to each other. Very simple. जो remaining faces हैं, right? आपको तीन दिख रहे हैं, तीनों आर एडजेसेंट. जो पीछे सरफेसेस जो आपको नहीं दिख रही, एक होगी इस तरफ, एक होगी उस तरफ और एक होगा बॉटम वाला. ऑल थ्री ऑफ देम आर आल्सो एडजेसेंट टू ईच अदर. वेरी सिंपल. व्हाट यू कैन फाइंड इज ब्लैक, क्रॉस एंड ए, राइट? यू हैव अ ब्लैक, यू हैव अ ए, यू हैव अ क्रॉस. रिमेनिंग आपके पास क्या बच गए? दो ब्लैंक्स एंड अ ब्लैक, राइट? दो ब्लैंक्स जो पीछे वाले केस में कैन नॉट बी एडजेसेंट टू ईच अदर, आप उससे भी एलिमिनेट कर सकते थे, राइट? Do you get it now? It's very, very simple. These are very simple concepts. थोड़ा सा imagination and you can solve it. Are you clear on this one? So I can take a break for 10 minutes and then you can recombine. Not a problem. Cool? Can I take a break now? Let's break for 10 minutes and then we will proceed. I'm breaking for 10. Cool. Bye. Hello. Are you all there? Cool. I'm hoping most of you will be here again. Alrighty. Now we will do the next question. This is the simplest of all. Dices. Okay, let's do the next one. The next one goes like this, and Duburu, I guess here you will be a little better, right? Better place to understand this one, because this is once again require some sort of an superimposition. यहाँ पर भी superimposition की आपको जरूरत होगी ही होगी, right? Let us try and do this one. Cool. जो लोग खुद से कर पाएंगे कर लीजिएगा. Drop your answers in here, right? For those who did not understand superimposition, let's do this one, right? ये वाला आपको क्वेश्चन दिया, ऑलरेडी इस पे क्वेश्चन लिखा नहीं हुआ. You'll have to check for which one of this is possible. Let's go with this question. Perfect. The rule for open dice is very simple, right? Go along any axis, check for alternate faces. Alternate faces have to be opposite to each other. This has been once again a case of an open dice. इस open dice में कितने आपको axes दिख रहे हैं? How many axes can you find? You can find this one. You can find this axis. You can find, no, not this. This can't be an axis. You can find this axis and this axis, right? Multiple axes you can find. इस एक्सिस को यूज करने का कोई सेंस ही नहीं बनता, बिकॉज देयर आर ओनली टू सरफेसेस, राइट? टू सरफेसेस एडजेसेंट टू ईच अदर. इसमें ऑल्टरनेट तो कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है, नॉट नेसेसरी, किसी काम का नहीं. गो विद दिस वन, GNB, ओनली टू फेसेस, किसी काम का नहीं, राइट? दिस एक्सिस O and Y only, there is no case of alternate हो ही नहीं सकता, so we cannot use this one. The only axis that we can possibly use is this one, B, O and W. Very simple, right? Okay, now let's use this one. The rule is very simple. The rule is, along any axis, alternate faces are opposite to each other. Along this axis, alternate faces are B and W. This you can get very simply. B is opposite to W. ये आपको पता है, right? But आपको एक ही surface, opposite surface, pair of surfaces पता है, right? उससे तो solve हो नहीं सरा. You'll have to look for more. अब नए कैसे हम लेके आए? How do you find out the new ones? Very simply, try and use a case of superimposition. You want to do superimposition like, मतलब इसको उठा के यहां पर डाल सकते हो, not a problem. इसको उठा के यहां पर डाल सकते हो, not a problem. इसको उठा के यहां पर डाल सकते हो, not a problem. जो आपकी इच्छा कर रही है, जैसे तरीके से, whichever you find convenient, do it. Not a problem whatsoever, right? Let's apply this one, right? You want to fold it on this side, right? In which case, what can you possibly find out? अगर हम इसको fold करके इस पे लेके आते हैं, you will find B will be superimposed over G. B will come over G. अगर आप इसको fold करके यूं ले आते हो, if B comes over G, O will come here, W will come here, right? And O के इस तरफ कौन सा है? This would be Y. What you have done is very simple. You have taken this axis and you have folded it here. आपने इसको fold करके यहां रख दिया. Very simply. If you have folded it here, what you can find is, now you can apply the same rule again. If you apply the rule along this axis, if you want to apply it along this axis, you will have R and O alternate to each other, right? R will be opposite to O. You have B is opposite W, R is opposite O. आपके पास बच कौन कौन सा गया? You have Y and you have G, right? Therefore, Y will be opposite to G. Very, very simple. आपको कुछ नहीं करना है इसमें. Two you have found out, the remaining have to be opposite to each other. Now you want to do it this way. If you want to fold it in this direction, same thing. कुछ अलग नहीं होने वाला, right? There is going to be no problem doing it this side also. ऐसे भी कर लो, not a problem. करके देखना है, right? If you want to do it this way, let us do it that way. हम इसको इस तरह से भी superimpose करके दिखा सकते हैं. I can show you. Right? For those who are finding it a little difficult, थोड़ा सा imagination and you will be good to go. Right? We folded it previous case में, हमने इसको fold करके यहां पर लेके आए. Now I'm telling you, try and fold it along this axis. Right? If you fold it along this axis, O will be superimposed on B. O B के ऊपर आ जाएगा. This will be Y. Right? If you fold it, Y यहां पर आ जाएगा and W will come here. Right? Now apply the rule. You can apply the rule along this axis. G will be opposite to Y. G is opposite to Y. R, B and W तो हमने पहले केस में फाइंड आउट कर दिया था. रिमेनिंग कौन सी फेसेस बची? O and R. R will be opposite to O. You fold it along any axis. you'll get the same answer. Duburu, is it clear now? If it is clear, let me know. Right? B is opposite W, R is opposite O, Y is opposite G. Now you have to figure out in these cases कौन सा possible है. G and Y are opposite to each other. G and Y in this case have been shown adjacent to each other. ये तो possibility हो ही नहीं सकती. B, R and W. R is opposite O, B is opposite W. B is opposite to W. B and W have been shown adjacent to each other. This is also not a possibility. Look at this. R, G and B. R is opposite O, Y is opposite G, B is opposite W. None of these cases mein opposite faces have been shown adjacent to each other. This has to be your answer. We'll still check for this one. एक बारी check कर लेते. Y, G and B. Y is opposite to G. Y and G have been shown as adjacent to each other. Cannot be the case. D is also not the case. Option has to be C. Do you get it now? Duburu? You had a problem understanding the superimposition principle? Are you clear now? Okay, in case you can find it, just let me know if you're clear about this or not. Cool? We can move to the next question. The next is this one. Once again, you'll have to apply the same rules. Try and do this one. The question is, which of the answer figures can be formed? So not a problem, can be formed वाला question है. Try and do this one. इसको करके देखिए. It's a very, very simple question. बहुत ही simple question है. Try and do this and tell me. Somebody was saying, I have done it without superimposition. Great. If you've done it without superimposition, if you're getting the right answer, that's the only outcome that you're wanting. जो चाहिए वो लेके आओ ना. आंसर सही है तो बढ़ जाओ आगे, सोचना क्या. Right? इसको करके देखिए. The same question, same type of question, open case है, open dice है. Right? Right? इस केस में आप किसी भी केस में apply कर ही नहीं पाओगे directly. You'll have to go for superimposition in any case. Right? Try and do this. एक बार आप करके देखिए. Right? There's a lot of people who are getting the answer right. All right, we'll do it. Okay. Right? In this case, along any axis, you cannot use the rule ऐसे. Why? Because along any axis, the maximum number of faces you can find is 2. Right? There is no case of alternate happening. So you'll have to go for a superimposition rule. Apply whichever way. You want to fold it here, not a problem. If you fold it like this, right? This will be covered by this sign infinity and alpha will come here. Right? Infinity. Right? Alpha is opposite to beta. Very simple. Right? Now, इसको आप हटाइए. Right? Now, fold it in this direction. अब आप इसको उठा के इस पे सुपर इम्पोज कर लीजिए. थीटा will cover beta and psi will come here. Right? इसको आपने फोल्ड करके इसके ऊपर सुपर इम्पोज कर दिया. Now you can apply the rule in this direction along this axis. Right? This is opposite to psi. You have two pairs of opposite surfaces already. The remaining faces have to be opposite to each other. Right? दो तो आपने फाइंड आउट कर दिए. अब आपके पास बचता है रिमेनिंग फेस. रिमेनिंग कौन कौन सा है? अल्फा, बीटा, साई एंड ए निकाल दिया आपने. अल्फा, बीटा, बेसिकली infinity is opposite to the remaining phase which is theta. Very simple. अब आप इसमें से चेक कर लो. Alpha, infinity and beta. Alpha is opposite to beta. Alpha and beta are shown as adjacent to each other. This has to be ruled out. नहीं होगा. In this case, okay, theta and not this one. Theta is opposite to infinity. Theta has been shown adjacent to infinity. Not this case. Look for this one. Psi, beta and delta. Delta is opposite to psi. Delta has been shown adjacent to psi. Of course, not a possibility. This has to be the correct answer. Check कर लेते हैं फिर भी. Theta is opposite to what? Theta is opposite to infinity. Great, not a problem. Psi is opposite to delta. Psi is not opposite to delta. Great. Sorry, not adjacent. Alpha is opposite beta. Beta के केस में भी alpha आपको adjacent नहीं दिखाया गया. तो only case has to be D. Yes. I'm thinking most of you are getting it right now. All right? This should not be a problem. Are everyone here clear on this? Yes, most of you are getting the question right. All of you, of course, gotten the answer D right. This is the only thing that you have to remember for dice. Only 3 rules. In case of a closed dice, the only rule that you have to look for are 2. One is if you find only one surface in common, write those common surfaces down and then go clockwise from that particular surface. Right? If you find 2 faces in common along 2 frames of references, the remaining faces are opposite to each other. In case of an open dice, there is only one rule to follow. Go along any axis. Alternate faces are opposite to each other. Right? If you cannot, by any stroke of luck, find out alternate faces, then use the rule of superimposition. But there is only one rule to follow. The rule is alternate faces have to be opposite to each other. Are you getting it, me? Right? I'm hoping that you're clear on this one. Perfect. Most of you are clear on this one. These are the only types of questions that you can get on dice. यही मिलेगा आपको. अगर आपसे बोल दिया स्टैंडर्ड डाइस की 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, उस केस में क्या है कि ऑपोजिट फेसेस हैव टू बी समड अप एंड फाउंड. द आंसर हैज टू बी 7. राइट? वो नहीं पूछेगा आपसे. दैट्स द सिंपलेस्ट एनीबॉडी कैन टॉक अबाउट. वो नहीं पूछता कोई भी क्वेश्चन. राइट? ये टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आएंगे. ओनली 3 रूल्स यू हैव टू कंसिडर एंड ऑल ऑफ योर क्वेश्चंस ऑन डाइस यू कैन सॉल्व. Not a single question you can get wrong. Right? Can we move to the next topic, which is that of cubes? Are you surprised? This is the only stuff they can ask you in dice. Literally only stuff they can ask you in dice. Takes you less than 10 seconds to get these questions right. Just less than 10 seconds. Even if there's only one such question, 2.5 number आपकी pocket में. It's the easiest. Can we move to the next topic, which is that of cubes? Can we move there? Cool. We'll move to the next topic, which is that of cubes. Okay, so this is rather थोड़ा सा challenging होता है, right? ये वाला मतलब डाइस से तो थोड़ा ज्यादा challenging होगा, इतना ज्यादा difficult नहीं है. Remember, logical reasoning के questions में the only thing you have to look for is if you get the logic right, उसके बाद there is only arithmetic. उसके बाद कुछ नहीं होता आपको करने के लिए, right? In cases of cubes, the kind of questions you will get is you will be given a bigger cube, right? That cube will then be cut. Right? Before cutting the cube, however, they would have painted a certain cube. For example, if I have to draw a cube, let's say this is the cube. ये cube है, right? Normally in a question like this, what they will do is, they will take a cube, they will paint it, right? It can be painted either in only one color. हो सकता है क्यूब पे पूरे के पूरे क्यूब पे एक ही कलर पेंटेड हो सकता है combinations of colors हो, multiple colors हो सकते हैं. In any case, faces 6 ही होते हैं, maximum possibilities 6 faces की है, 6 colors की है, right? Forget about it. Take a cube, they paint it. Now what they will do is they will cut it, right? Let's say उन्होंने cut किया इसको, like a block of paneer, cut करो. Right? Once they cut it, for example, in this case, I cut it 3 times along each dimension. एक बड़े cube को हमने cut किया into several identical cubes. Remember, this cube was painted. Right? If this cube was painted, and then I cut it into smaller cubes, typically 99% of the times they will ask you questions based on, अब बताओ जो resultant cubes हैं, उसमें से कितने cubes हैं जिसमें 3 faces painted हैं, कितने क्यूब्स हैं जिसमें 2 फेसेस पेंटेड हैं, कितने क्यूब्स हैं जिसमें 1 फेस पेंटेड है, 0 फेसेस पेंटेड है, राइट? इन विच केस दे कैन आस्क यू पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ कलर्स. हो सकता है कि डिफरेंट कलर्स से फेसेस पेंट किया हुआ एंड देन कट किया हुआ. दे कैन आस्क यू क्वेश्चंस लाइक दीस. इज एवरीवन क्लियर ऑन दिस जस्ट येट? अभी तक जो मैंने बोला है किसी को मुश्किल हो रही है समझने के लिए तो मुझे बता दे, राइट? एक बड़ा क्यूब है, देयर इज अ बिगर क्यूब, it has been painted. They can paint it either in one color, they can paint it in combinations of colors, right? You will have to check for what possibility is there, right? If it's painted in one, or multiple, not a problem. In any case, they will then cut the bigger cube into several small identical cubes. Once they cut it into identical cubes, they will try and ask you, right, how many smaller cubes will have one face painted, two faces painted, three faces painted, no faces painted, or they can ask you combinations of colors. किस पे, let's say अगर इसको red, green, blue किया है, right, इसको हो सकता है किसी और कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ कलर्स में पुट किया है, स्मॉलर क्यूब्स बताओ जिसपे सर्टेन पेंट किया हुआ हो. ये आपसे टाइप के क्वेश्चंस पूछ सकते हैं, राइट. इसी टाइप के क्वेश्चंस आपसे पूछे जाते हैं जनरली स्पीकिंग. इन क्वेश्चंस बेस्ड ऑन क्यूब्स, द ओनली थिंग दैट यू हैव टू बी कंसर्न्ड अबाउट इज दिस थिंग कॉल्ड n. इफ यू नो n, अगर आपको n पता है, आप मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस में क्वेश्चंस को आराम से सॉल्व कर देते हो. नाउ व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज n? n है क्या चीज, राइट? n इज बेसिकली the number of sections along each dimension. n is the number of sections along each dimension. In this case, मुझे आप n बताओ पहले. I will explain it to you. n exactly है क्या? In this case, tell me what will be the value of n. आप मुझे n का वैल्यू बताइए इस क्यूब के लिए. n की वैल्यू क्या है? घबराओ मत, आराम से बोल सकते हो. यू कैन ऑल्सो बी, मतलब यू कैन बी रॉन्ग, एज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. जितना रॉन्ग हो सकते हो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. जस्ट टेल मी what can be the value of n for this particular cube. I have taken a bigger cube. I have cut it 3 times along each dimension. Tell me what is the value of n. n बताओ इस केस में क्या है? n क्या है? Number of sections along each dimension. Tell me what is the value of n. बताइए. n is 4. n is 4. Yes. Yes. All of you are getting it right. n in this bigger cube is 4. n क्या था? Number of sections along each dimension. Right? There are 3 dimensions of a cube. There is a length, there is a depth or width you can want to call it, and there is a height. Right? Along each dimension, कितने sections हैं along each dimension? If you go along the length, there is 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 sections along the length. If you go along the depth, there is 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 along the depth. If you go along the height, there is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Right? n in this case is 4. Quite simply, just count करो छोटे छोटे cubes along each dimension. छोटे cubes कितने? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the value of n. 99% of the times, n will be common, which is to say, along each dimension, n will be the same. Right? They will take a bigger cube, they will cut it into identical cubes in a way that n along each dimension is same. They can ask you questions where n will not be the same. Remember, first हम try करेंगे in cases of questions where n is the same. Number of sections along each dimensions is the same. For example, in this case, right? n is 4 along length, 4 along width, 4 along height. Right? If you know the value of n, then they can ask you questions, right? They can say, find out the total number of cubes, smaller cubes, with 3 sides painted, 2 sides painted, 1 side painted, or 0 sides painted. पहले टाइप के क्वेश्चन आपसे ये पूछेंगे. टोटल नंबर ऑफ स्मॉलर क्यूब्स जहां पर 3 साइड्स पेंटेड, 2 साइड्स पेंटेड, 1 साइड पेंटेड और no side painted, 0 sides painted. This is the first type of question. First thing that you have to look for is n common along each dimension? If n is common along each dimension, we can solve all of these with formula. हम formula से इसको solve कर सकते हैं. In case n is common along each dimension, right? That you have to check for the first time, right? Now I'll try to show you something which will work for you. इसको देखो. If this is a bigger cube, right? I painted the cube Bhagwa, right? It's orange. Then I cut the bigger cube 2 times along each dimension. एक बारी चाकू लिया, ऐसे काटा, एक बारी चाकू लिया, ऐसे काटा, along the length 2 बारी, right? Along the width 2 बारी, and along the height 2 बारी, 1 बारी and 2 बारी. Like you cut a block of paneer, right? In this case, what is the value of n? N क्या है in this case? But then it will not be cube if n is not the same. Yes, Sanjeev, it will not be cube if n is not the same, right? Not a problem, right? They don't ask you exactly वो area volume नहीं पूछेंगे आपसे. They will only ask you surfaces बताओ कितने painted है कितने नहीं. In which case, if it's a cube or a cuboid, it does not matter. Just focus on this concept. Tell me what is n in this case. N बताइए. N is 3. N is 3. Yes. N is basically, like I said, count करो along any dimension. छोटे cubes count करो. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. N in this case is 3. Right? Remember that this cube has been painted only in one paint. एक ही paint से paint किया हुआ है इसको. Right? And N in this case is 3. Now tell me, if you cut this bigger cube into smaller cubes, एक जो जितने आपको smaller cubes दिख रहे हैं, maximum number of sides smaller cubes की painted कितनी हो सकती हैं? जो भी आपको ये smaller cubes दिख रहे हैं, stacked together, right? Tell me, on any of these smaller cubes, what is the maximum number of faces that can be painted, that you can find painted? Maximum faces कितने painted हो सकते हैं in these smaller cubes? This was a bigger cube. Bigger cube को हमने orange paint किया and then we cut it. We cut it 2 times along each dimension. Resultantly, we found 27 such cubes. छोटे छोटे cubes में, just tell me, what is the maximum number of sides that can be painted on a smaller cube? Tell me that. 3. Yes. Maximum surfaces that you can find painted on any of these smaller cubes is 3. 3 ही paint कर सकते हो. एक बड़ा cube है, right? And ये 3 faces जो है, कहां पर होंगी आपको? Where will you find these smaller cubes with 3 sides painted? जितने भी ये smaller cubes हैं, इसमें 3 sides painted वाले कहां मिलेंगे आपको? Where would you find it? Yes, you're all right. You're saying 3. Tell me, on this block, where will you find these smaller cubes with 3 sides painted? कहां देखेंगे आप? Corners. Yes, Vishant is right. It's only at the corners. 1 corner, 2 corner, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. एक corner है वो पीछे जो आपको दिख नहीं रहा है इसके directly नीचे. There are 8 corners to a cube. On a bigger cube, only along these corners do you find a possibility of 3 sides painted. सिर्फ corners पे ही हो सकता है that you will find smaller cubes with 3 sides painted. और कोई possibility है ही नहीं. There can be no possibility where you will find 3 surfaces exposed to paint. छोटे छोटे cubes को notice करो, right? Tell me, where all can you find smaller cubes जहां पर 3 sides exposed to paint है? It's only at the corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 will be directly underneath this one. Only these smaller cubes have 3 sides exposed to paint. यही वाले cubes हैं जहां पर 3 surfaces exposed to paint, and this is the maximum number, right? उसके अलावा अंदर वाले cubes को तो paint हमने paint तो बाहर से किया था. We had painted it from the outside and then we had cut it. अंदर वाले cubes तो they will not be painted, right? Only at the surface, only at the corners do you find such smaller cubes with 3 sides painted. Therefore, if n is the same, if number of sections along each dimension is the same, total number of smaller cubes with 3 sides painted, it will always be 8. ये हमेशा 8 होगा, right? Remember, he is not suggesting which color. Color के भी तक इसने बात ही नहीं करी है. ये बस बोल रहा है total number of smaller cubes with 3 sides painted. Number पूछ रहा है उतने cubes का जिसमें 3 surfaces painted होंगी, right? Number will always be 8. Because it's only at the corners that you will find smaller cubes which have 3 sides exposed to paint. Do you get it? Only at the corners. Is everyone clear on this one? Only at the corners do you find smaller cubes जिसके 3 sides exposed हैं paint को. तभी 3 possibilities हैं. 3 से ज्यादा possibility नहीं है. बड़ा cube था, कॉर्नर पे ही आपको मिलेंगे 3 surfaces जहां पर पेंट होगा. इसके अलावा कोई पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है, राइट? Therefore, if n is the same along each dimension, which is to say there is only one value of n, total number of smaller cubes with 3 sides painted is always 8. Why is it always 8? Because 8 is the number of corners. किसी भी बड़े क्यूब के 8 कॉर्नर्स होते हैं. इट्स ओनली एट द कॉर्नर्स दैट यू विल फाइंड 3 surfaces exposed to paint. Very, very simple. Total number of cubes with 2 sides painted. There is a formula for it. Remember, you are applying this formula only in that case where n is the same. जब n same है along each dimension, only then do you apply this formula. This will be given to you by 12 into n minus 2. Write it down. लिख सकते हो साइड में formula. 12 into n minus 2. Remember, write this formula down. 12 into n minus 2. In this formula, what does 12 signify? And what does n minus 2 signify? 12 क्या बताता है? किसी भी बड़े क्यूब में, if this was the bigger cube, if this was the bigger cube, right? What does 12 signify? 12 is the number of edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? There will be one here, 10. There will be one इसके नीचे जो आपको दिख नहीं रहा 11, and there will be one directly इसके उस तरफ, right? 12 are the corners. This 12 signifies the number of edges. 12 is the number of edges. Why is this significant? It is significant because it is only at the edges. जब आप edges पे देखोगे cubes के, only at the edges will you find such cubes which have 2 faces exposed to paint. Which one of those are they? This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, right? This one, this one, this one, and there will be edges that you cannot see. इसके directly पीछे एक नीचे होगा, एक इस तरफ होगा, right? Only at the edges you will find such cubes जिसमें 2 faces are exposed to paint. सिर्फ edges पे मिलते हैं. इसीलिए 12 signifies the number of edges. n minus 2 क्यों? Why? Because edges से आप corners हटा देंगे. Corners के cases में there was 3 sides exposed to paint. आप corners हटा दीजिए. n आपके पास कुछ एक नंबर था. Corners के हर corner से आपको मतलब हर edge पे आपको 2 corners हटाने पड़ेंगे. That too you have to separate from each corner. This is the corner वाला cube. From each edge you have to separate this 2. 12 into L minus 2. Do you get it? Total number of smaller cubes with 2 sides painted will be 12 into n minus 2. Why? Because it's only at the edges of the bigger cube that you will find such cubes which have 2 faces exposed to paint. Except for the corners. Corner के केस में 3 sides exposed to paint थी. We are talking about only such smaller cubes which have only 2 sides exposed to paint. You will find, except for the corners, edges पे जो भी बचता है, there will be the cubes which have 2 sides exposed to paint, which is why you will get n minus 2. Right? 2 is the one corner से. हर edge पे 2 corners हटा दीजिए, right? n minus 2. Do you get it? Right? 12 is the number of edges, and we subtract 2. 2 is the cubes in the corner. "12 is the number of edges, 2 is the cubes at the corner." Do you get it now? Do you understand it? Total number of cubes with only one side painted. Only one side painted is given to you by the formula 6 into n minus 2 का whole square. Remember, these formula you are applying only in that case where n is the same along each dimension. It can vary. In case n is the same, which will be 99% of your questions, n हमेशा same ही होता है, right? In which case you can apply this formula straight up if you are asked total number of smaller cubes with one side painted. Without specifying what color it is, हो सकता है specify भी करता है. That does not matter. With only one side painted, it will be given to you by the formula 6 into n minus 2 का whole square. What is 6? 6 क्या है? 6 is the number of faces. For each cube, there are only 6 faces. And what does n minus 2 का whole square signify? It signifies for each face, corners पे तो 3 थे, edges पे except the corners 2 थे. For each face, except for the corners and except for the edges, you will have only this thing, something in the center, which will be a square of dimension n minus 2. n minus 2 का dimension का यहां पर square है. In this case, n was 3. Right? n minus 2 क्या हो गया? Is 1. In each face, you will find only one square here, which will have only one face exposed to paint. एक ही मिलेगा आपको, which will have only one face exposed to paint, which is why 6 is the number of faces. And faces में edges हटा दो, corners हटा दो, only this surface, which will, in most cases, when n is the same, it will be a square of dimension n minus 2. Do you get it? Sir once explained two sides corners. I will, Teja, I will next try and show you, इससे अलग एक dimension दिखाऊंगा, like अलग, I'll show you another cube that will maybe make sure it will be very clear to you. Right? Write down, just focus on the formula. The formula is, if you have to find out total number of smaller cubes with only one side painted, it will be given to you by the formula 6 into n minus 2 ka whole square. Very simple. Right? Total number of smaller cubes with 0 sides painted. 0 sides painted will be given to you by the formula n minus 2 ka whole cube. Remember, just write down these formula. When we try and apply this, the moment I try applying these formula, जैसे फॉर्मूला अप्लाई करने की कोशिश करूंगा, you will find it, it's very, very easy for you to grasp. n minus 2 का whole cube. Remember, this is the formula. n minus 2 का whole cube क्यों? Why? Because this was the cube which was painted, right? There have been 27, it has been cut down into 27 smaller cubes, right? What is n minus 2 का whole cube? n minus 2 ka whole cube is the number of cubes that lie inside it. If you remove the top lid, remove the side lid, bottom lid, right? And then remove the faces, there will be only one cube in the center, which will have no sides exposed to paint. Imagine you take a block of paneer, right? There is a block of paneer that you have taken, right? You have painted it only in one color. If you then cut it down, right? If you cut it down, you remove the top lid, you remove the face, you remove that face, this side, there will be only one paneer ka tukda at the center, which will not be colored. This is what has been given to you by the formula n minus 2 ka whole cube. Sir, in one side painted, why did we solve for whole square of n minus 2? I will tell you right away. Meet, I will try and explain to you. जब मैं थोड़ा बड़ा cube दिखाता हूँ ना, I will try and show you. In fact, अभी भी दिखा सकता हूँ if you want me to. Right? If this was the cube, let me try and show you. If this was the cube, right? For one side painted, if I have painted it in one color only, for one side painted, for each face, 6 into n minus 2 hai na? 6 is what? 6 is each face. There will be each face, you remove the edges, you remove the corners, what you will get is this thing. This is what? This is a square of dimension n minus 2. n was 1, 2, 3, 4, right? n minus 2 क्यों? आप ये हटा दो, ये हटा दो, you will get n minus 2 here, you will get n minus 2 here. 6 into n minus 2 का whole square. 6 why? 6 is the number of faces. This is not just one face. 1, 2, 3, one at the back, one in this side, and one नीचे bottom में. Right? Did you get it? Can anyone tell me what is n? I want its definition. Sagar, there is no definition for n. n simply is total number of sections along each dimension. You take a bigger cube, you cut it down. How do you find out n? Just count the number of smaller blocks. छोटे छोटे blocks आप count कर लो. 1, 2, 3, 4. n is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 along the height. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 along the width. n in this case is 4. Very simple. Right? Meet, I am hoping that you are clear on this one. Right? When you remove the top surface, ये वाला face, ये वाला face, bottom, sides, सारी sides निकाल दो. Under there will be a set of cubes which will have no face painted. That to you is given by the formula n minus 2 का whole cube. Do you get it? Okay, I think I will, if I show to you more figures, you will understand it better. Imagine this was the bigger cube, right? इस bigger cube को we painted, let's say we painted it green on opposite faces, we painted it yellow on opposite faces, and we painted it blue on opposite faces, right? This is what it looked like. Have you imagined a Rubik's cube? Rubik's cube type का ही कुछ है, right? If you have to come down to such cubes which will have no face painted. No face painted कब होगा? When you take the top lid off, take the bottom lid off, take the sides off, then take the faces off. There will only be one cube at the center. I've tried to show it to you. 3 faces कहाँ होंगे? Only at the corners. You remove the corners. 2 faces कहाँ होंगे? Only at the edges. Right? 1 edge, 2 edge, 3, 4. 1, 2, एक उस तरफ होगा, एक पीछे होगा. 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, and then there will be 4 this one. 12 edges जहां पर 2 sides exposed to paint. Right? If you have to find out only one side exposed to paint, remove this edges also. ये भी हटाओ, ये भी हटाओ, ये भी हटाओ, ये भी हटाओ. Center में there will be only one square which has only one face exposed to paint. ये हर face पे you will find one such square. Right? Now, if you have to find out no faces painted, you take this top lid off, take the bottom lid off, take the sides off, take this face. Center में there will be only one cube which will have no faces painted. Do you get it now? Right? This is the simplest formula that you can find out. 99% of the cases, n will be the same. n हमेशा usually same ही रखते हैं. हो सकता है n same ना हो, which is why I have specified it to you. Only in cases n, which is the number of sections along each dimension, or very simply you can say number of smaller cubes along each dimension. In case n along each dimension is the same, right, then you can apply these formula and get to the right answer. In case n is the same. It may so happen that n is not the same. n not भी same होगा. In any case, 3 sides painted कहाँ होंगे? Only at the cubes and only at the corners. 2 कहाँ होंगे? Only at the edges. And 1 face कहाँ होगा? Only in the face, on the faces. And no faces painted कहाँ होंगे? In the center, in the core somewhere. Right? That is the only concept that you have to figure out in this case. How do you get to the value of n? अब usually जरूरी नहीं है आपको n बता दिया हो. Normally what they do is, they will tell you to find out n, use the following concepts. ठीक है, अगर आपको n तक find out करना है, if you have to get down to the value of n, either they will give you, let's say, total number of smaller cubes. हो सकता है, in one case, they tell you there was a bigger cube and we cut it down into x number of smaller cubes. Right? If you have been given the total number of smaller cubes in which the bigger cube has been cut, if you have been given कि total number of smaller cubes कितने हैं, let's say that is x, in that case n will be equal to cube root of x. Very simple. Sir, if a cube is cut in 4 horizontally, 2 vertically, if you cut 4 horizontally and 2 vertically, okay, in which case you're saying something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And 2 vertically. 1, 2. Right? Are you saying this? In this case, n you will get only along 2 dimensions, right? Because along this dimension, n is 1. If you go along this dimension, n is only 1. यहाँ पर तो आपको कोई और blocks दिख नहीं रहे. If you go along this dimension, n is 3. If you go along this dimension, n is 5. Right? In this case, n is different along each dimension. वहां पर आप directly formula नहीं apply कर सकते. Very simple. Do you get it, Aditya? अभी उस पे मत मूव करो. I have a question kept on that part too. Don't worry about this. First try and grasp the basics. Basics पहले पकड़ लो. Right? If you have been given the total number of smaller cubes, right? अगर आपको smaller cubes बता दी गए, usually these smaller cubes are also they are given to you कि ये identical है. बता देते हैं आपको. नहीं भी बताया, smaller cubes अगर आपको बता दिया है कि x है, in which case n will be cube root of x. Right? In case, if there are further more questions, you can ask me. In case they tell you that there was a side of the bigger cube अगर आपको साइड ऑफ द बिगर क्यूब दे रखी है एस बी एंड दे हैव ऑल्सो गिवन यू साइड ऑफ द स्मॉलर क्यूब, लेट्स से वो आपको दे रखी है एस स्मॉल एस, इन विच केस एस एन विल बी गिवन टू यू बाय साइड ऑफ द बिगर क्यूब डिवाइडेड बाय साइड ऑफ द स्मॉलर क्यूब. हो सकता है they tell you that there was a bigger cube of side 15 centimeter, it has been cut into x number of smaller pieces, or it has been cut into several smaller identical cubes, each of side, let's say 3 centimeter. In which case n will be side of the bigger cube, which was 15, divided by side of the smaller cube, which is 3, n will be 5. Right? Or they can give you volume of the bigger cube VB, and they give you volume of the smaller cube which is VS, in which case what will n be? N क्या होगा? It will be a cube root of volume of the bigger cube upon volume of the smaller cube. Why will it be a cube root of this? Very, very simple. Because volume of the bigger cube is what? It is side of the bigger cube ka whole cube, length into breadth into height. Length and breadth and height are the same for a cube, right? Side of the bigger cube ka whole cube. Volume of the smaller cube is side of the smaller cube ka whole cube, right? You are practically, by taking a cube root of volume of the bigger upon volume of the smaller, you are basically coming down to this formula only. N is side of the bigger cube upon side of the smaller cube, right? In either case, if they have given to you volume of the bigger cube, volume of the smaller cube, then you can come down to value of n by taking a cube root of volume of the bigger cube upon volume of the smaller cube. Is everyone clear on this? Is everyone clear? Right? ये होगी 4, 3, or they can give you number of cuts along each dimension. If the number of cuts along each dimension has been given to you, and let's say that number of cuts is C, right? हमने एक बड़ा क्यूब लिया, we cut it 5 times along length, 5 across breadth, 5 across height, right? If that is given to you, in which case n will be number of cuts along each dimension plus 1. ये क्यों होता है? Very simple. If there is a bigger cube, एक बड़ा पनीर का टुकड़ा है, right? If you cut it once, अगर आप इसको एक बार काटते हो, let's say यहां से, how many parts do you get? You get 2 parts. N is 1 plus 1. You cut it once, you get 2 parts. You cut it twice, you get 3 parts. If you cut it 1 times, 2 times, you get 3 parts, 1, 2 and 3, right? N in this case will be C plus 1, number of cuts plus 1. Given that number of cuts along each dimension are the same. अगर same दे के रखा हुआ है, then n will be C plus 1. For each dimension, n is C plus 1. This one is not very simple. Please explain again, okay? From where should I start? Muskan, please, can you please tell me? Very simply, how do you come down to the value of n? I'm trying to tell you, write down, right? Right now what I'm trying to tell you is how do you get to the value of n? Yeah, I'm trying to give you formula right now. When we try and doing this, when we'll be doing these questions, in which case it will be much clearer to you. Abhi to hum bas formula dikha rahe hain, maybe that's why you're getting confused, right? Write down, if you have been given a bigger cube and they have told you that we have cut it into x number of smaller cubes. If you have been given the total number of smaller cubes in which the bigger cube has been cut, in which case n will be given to you by the cube root of x, that number. If they have given you side of the bigger cube, let's say 15 centimeter, and they have told you that we have cut this bigger cube of size 15 centimeter into smaller cubes, each of side 3 centimeter. You have been given the side of the bigger cube, you have been given the side of the smaller cube, n in this case will be side of the bigger one upon side of the smaller one. Very simple. If you have been given volume of the bigger cube, volume of the smaller cube, in which case n will be given to you by the cube root of volume of the bigger and volume of the smaller. Why? Because volume of the bigger cube is side of the bigger cube ka hi cube, volume of the smaller cube is side of the smaller cube ka hi cube. taking a cube root of this upon this, you are getting down to the same value, SB upon SS. Very simple, right? If you're talking about number of cuts along each dimension, अगर आपको बोल दिया है, and if they have given to you कि हाँ सारे cuts same है, we have cut it 5 times along the length, 5 across the width, and 5 across the depth. In which case, number of sections along each dimension will be number of cuts plus 1, right? You take a block of cheese, like I said, you cut it, let's say 3 times. There is a bigger block of cheese, you cut it 3 times along the length. How many parts do you get? You get 1, 2, 3, and 4. You get 4 parts. Along each dimension, number of sections kitne hai? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number of sections along length. Like I said, apply this formula only in case you have been given number of cuts along each dimension. Abhi aapko length ke across hi diya hai. If it is 4 across the width also, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now 4 along this, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? In this case, n will be what? Number of cuts along each dimension plus 1. Cuts along each dimension was 3. 1, 2, and 3. You cut it 3 times. Cut it 3 times here. Cut it 3 times here. Right? In this case, n will be number of cuts plus 1. You get it? Muskan, do you get it now? You will try and you will get it much better when you are trying to solve questions. जब आप questions करोगे तब आपको much better दिखेगा. अभी तो in case अभी जिस formula लिखा रहा हूँ, तो आपको शायद हो सकता है इतना समझ में नहीं आ रहा. We'll try and do questions, ज़्यादा clear हो जाएगा. Should I move? Right? What are the concepts till now? There is a cube, bigger cube ko when you try and paint the bigger cube, right? The only possibilities that you get is that only you will find the maximum number of faces painted on the smaller cubes. It can only be 3. 3 ही हो सकती हैं, and वो 3 आपको कहाँ मिलेंगी? Corners पे. You will find them only at the corners, right? The next possibility is of 2 faces painted. 2 faces painted you will only find at the edges. Why? Because only at the edges, except for the corners, you find such cubes which have 2 faces exposed to paint. Where will you find only 1 face exposed to paint? This will be along the faces. Faces mein you take out the edges and the corners. The remaining square that you get is the one which has only 1 face exposed to paint. And where will you find such cubes which have no faces exposed to paint? It will be at the core. You take all of these surfaces, you basically peel it off. This one which is at the core of it is the one which has no paint on it, right? This can be given to you easily by these formulae. हमने formulae लिखवा दिए, right? I have given to you the formulae, right? These are the formulae. 8 signifies what? It will always be 8. Why? Total number of smaller cubes with 3 sides painted. Because there are only 8 corners of a cube. Only at these corners will you find such cubes which have 3 faces exposed to paint. This will always be a constant, which is 8. Right? 2 sides painted will be 12 into n minus 2. 12 is the number of edges. N minus 2 is you take out the corners from the edges. That's why n minus 2. 6 is the number of faces. And in this case, n minus 2 ka whole cube is the one that is at the core. Cool? We'll try and do questions. You will try and get it better. Right? Let's do a few questions. Questions karte hain, behtar samajh mein aayega. All right? Look at this question. The question says, a solid cube with each side painted orange. Remember, the first thing is, find out kaise paint kiya hua hai. There is a solid cube which has been painted only in one color. Each side has been painted in orange. There was a bigger cube, you painted it orange. Is cut into 216 identical cubical blocks or cubes. It has been cut down into 216 identical cubes. How many cubes have no face painted? Right? What have you been given? 1, that it was a bigger cube. Each side has been painted only in one color. The color is orange. Right? There was a bigger cube. Right? Each side is painted orange. Sari sides ko humne orange paint kiya hua hai. It has been cut down into how many identical cubes? 216. What is the value of n in this case? N kya hoga? Tell me what is the value of n? Tell me the value of n in this case. Like I said, you can be given what? Either you are given total number of smaller cubes, x. If you have been given total number of smaller cubes, x, n will be cube root of x. In this case, you have been given the value of x. Total number of smaller cubes. X is 216. The bigger cube has been cut into 216 identical cubes. Right? What will n be? n therefore will be cube root of 216. Right? Cube root of 216 will be 6. Why? Because 6 ka cube is 216. N you have gotten is 6. Right? Okay. Now let's try and build this one. This has been the bigger cube. Right? N has been given to you 6. Right? How do you make it 6? Cut it 5 times. 5 बारी काटो. Why am I cutting it 5 times? Because I know n is 6. 6 will be given if I cut it 5 times. If I cut it 5 times, I'll get 6 sections. Right? Cut it 5 times along each dimension. Right? This is how you will get to the value of n is to be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get it? Cool. This is an easier one. Why? Because n has been given to you as 6 and the cube is only painted in orange. एक ही color दिया हुआ है आपको. Right? How many cubes have no faces painted? No faces painted का मतलब क्या? There has been 0 faces painted. Right? Where will you find no faces painted? Right? You have to take the top lid off, face off, this side off, bottom off, this face off, this face off, that face off, that face off. Only at the core. The core has been to be the dimension of n minus 2, n minus 2 ka whole cube, which was the formula also. The formula for 0 sides painted was n minus 2 ka whole cube. N is 6. 6 minus 2 ka whole cube is 4 ka cube, which is 64. Right? This has to be 64. No face painted. Right? How many cubes will have only one face painted orange? Only one face painted orange. Now, ab orange nahi bhi bolta. In this case, the side bigger cube has been painted only in one color. Nahi bhi batata to bhi koi farak nahi padne wala tha. Only one face painted orange. Kahan hoga only one face painted orange? Where will you find only one face? Right? You will only find it at the faces. In the faces, if you take out the edges, sare edges hata do, corners hata do, only here will you find these are the smaller cubes which have only one face exposed to paint. इनका एक ही face exposed to paint है. Paint बाहर से ही हो सकता है ना, अंदर जाके तो कर नहीं रहे. Right? Only along this one. Right? Here, how many such faces? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 6 faces. 6 into n minus 2 का whole square. Where does this n minus 2 का whole square come? पिछली बारी भी किसी ने पूछा था. Why? Because look at this part. This part is a square of dimension n minus 2. Minus 2 क्यों? Edges हटा दो. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 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 Right? 6 into n minus 2 ka whole square. Apply this formula. We know n is 6. 6 minus 2 ka whole square. 6 into 4 ka square. 96. Right? (96). All of you are getting it right. Very simple. ये बहुत ही simple है. Right? Only one face painted orange. Even if he had not specified the color, because the bigger cube is only painted in one color, तो फिर क्या फर्क पड़ता है? He may not have told you. Not a problem. Even if he said only one face painted, it does not matter. Right? Let's move to the next one. How many cubes have only 2 faces painted orange? Only 2 faces painted orange. Right? How do you come down to this one? You had a formula for this. Only 2 faces painted kahan milenge aapko? It will only be at the edges. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Remove the corners because corners have 3 faces exposed to paint. Corners hata dijiye. Edges kitna bache? 1, 2, 3 and 4. 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 Right? बेसिकली फॉर्मूला ही लगा दो, इसमें सोचने वाली क्या बात है. 12 into n minus 2. 12 signifies the number of edges, n minus 2 is the dimension. 12 into 6 minus 2, 12 into 4, which is 48. Right? Basically, what are we trying to do? We are cutting out the corners 1, 2, 3, and 4. 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 Right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? Along each edge, you will only find, if you cut out the corners, because corners will have cubes with 3 sides exposed to paint. You don't want those. You want only such cubes with only 2 sides painted. Take out the corners, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 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 These are the first 4 edges. There will be 4 edges here. There will be 4 here, 4 here. Basically, 12 odd edges, 12 into n minus 2. N was 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. 12 into 4 is 48. If you want to count it down, you can count it down. Ye 4, 4, 4, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. Right? If you want to, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 इसके नीचे भी होंगे. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 इसके नीचे भी होंगे. And then there will be 4 along that wala edge. Right? 12 edges. Take out the corners. The only cubes that remain will have 2 faces exposed to paint. Right? That is why 12 into n minus 4. Get it? Move to the next one. How many cubes have 3 faces painted orange? What will be the answer? 3 faces painted orange kitne honge? It's the simplest one. Why? Because the biggest cube will only have at the corner such opportunity for you to paint 3 faces. जब आप bigger cube को देखते हैं, it's only at the corners that you will find smaller cubes with 3 faces exposed to paint. There are only 8 corners, which is why there was no formula for it. Has to be 8 only. 1 corner, 2 corners, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 here 7, and 1 will be underneath that corner. Right? 8 odd corners which will have 3 faces exposed to paint. Right? Only here do you find the possibility of getting cubes with 3 sides painted. बस यही मिलेंगे आपको. Very simple. Right? 3 sides exposed to paint has to be 8. इसके अलावा कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता. There can be no other possibility. Right? Moving on to the next one. Now look at this question. A solid cube of each side 15 centimeter, this is a bigger cube of each side 15 centimeter, has been painted green, blue and yellow on pairs of opposite faces. Right? This is the solid cube. Right? In a cube, there are total number of 6 faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1, bottom 6. Right? How many pairs of opposite faces? 3 pairs. This is opposite that side. This is opposite that side. The top is opposite the bottom. Right? What you have to do is, you are painting green, blue and yellow on pairs of opposite faces. So if this is green, the back side has to be green. If this is yellow, this side has to be yellow. If this is blue, the bottom has to be blue. Very simple. Ye pattern hai. This is what you have to figure out. It is then cut into cubical blocks, each of side 3 centimeter. Now it has been cut into cubical blocks, each of side 3 centimeter. What is the value of n here in this case? N kya hoga? N will be side of the bigger cube upon side of the smaller cube. Bigger cube का side क्या था? 15 centimeters. Smaller cube का side क्या है? Each of side 3 centimeters. 3. N will be 5. Very simple. Right? There was a bigger cube. N in our case is 5. 5 के लिए you have to cut it 4 times along each dimension. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1. Right? This is how you get to the value of n, right? What you have done is, you know, if this is painted green, then the bottom has to be green. If this is blue, then this side has to be blue. If this is yellow, then this side has to be yellow. यही बताया हुआ आपको, right? अब n5 आया क्यों? The biggest size was 15, right? You are cutting it into smaller cubes, each of dimension what? 3, right? 15 divided by 3 will be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Getting it? Okay. Now, how many cubes have no faces painted? Remember, he's not asking you about any colors just yet. He's only asking you how many cubes will have no faces painted. Number पूछ रहा है आपसे of such cubes with no faces painted. Number is very simple. You have to apply the formula. The formula is what? N minus 2 का whole cube. N in our case is 5. 5 minus 2 का whole cube, which is 3 का whole cube, which is 27. In the first case, he is only asking you such smaller cubes, the number of such smaller cubes with no face painted. जिसका कोई face painted ही नहीं है. It has to be n minus 2 का whole cube, 15 minus 2 का whole cube, sorry 5 minus 2 का whole cube, 3 का cube, which is 27. Not a problem. How many cubes will have only one face painted? Remember, अभी तक इसने आपसे कोई color नहीं पूछा. He is only asking you about such cubes which have only one face painted. Where do you find such cubes? You will only find such cubes here. ये वाले. Right? 6 such faces. 6 into n minus 2 का whole square. N was what? 5. 5 minus 2 का whole square. 6 into 3 का whole square, which is 54. Right? For second question, the answer has to be 54. Anyone has a doubt up until now? अभी तक कोई डाउट होना नहीं चाहिए वैसे, बट अगर है तो पूछ सकता है. Tell me if there is a doubt. Sneha, why are you getting 27? Shailendra is also getting it 54, right? अभी तक तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है. अभी तक तुम डायरेक्टली आर फॉर्मूला लगा रहे हो. Not an issue. If there is somebody who hasn't understood till this point, अभी तक जिसको समझ में नहीं आई है, वो मुझसे पूछ सकता है. एक बार मुझसे पूछ लीजिए, मैं आपको क्लियर कर दूंगा. Is there somebody who does not understand this? No doubt. Clear. Great. Move to the next question. How many cubes have two faces painted green and blue and all other faces unpainted? Now tell me, what does this mean? How many cubes have two faces painted green and blue? Two faces painted green and blue and all other faces unpainted. Remember, here he is not talking about two sides painted. ये वो नहीं बोल रहा है, ये आपसे वो बोल रहा है. दो वो वाले छोटे क्यूब्स बताइए. Tell me about those such cubes which have only two faces painted, green and blue, and all other faces unpainted. Remember, एक बड़े क्यूब में, if you were trying to cut down a bigger cube into smaller cubes, the maximum number of sides painted on a smaller cube can only be 3. It can never be greater than 3, and the 3 you will find only at the corners. Right? He is asking you about such cubes which have two faces painted green and blue and all other faces unpainted. He is trying to talk to you about a combination of colors which is green and blue. Green and blue. Right? Now in this case, n was 5. Right? If this was green, this is blue, this is yellow. Right? This has to be yellow, this has to be blue, and the bottom has to be green. N was what? N was 5. Right? Sorry, I have to join this one too. Right? He's asking you about such cubes which have two faces painted green and blue. दो faces जिसके painted हैं green and blue and all other faces unpainted. That is to say, he is only asking you about such cubes which have two faces painted and those two faces have to be green and blue. Green and blue होने चाहिए. In this case, Where will you find such cubes which have two faces painted, exposed to paint? It can only be at the edges, right? But because you have been given a combination of colors, it has to be green and blue. You will have to look for such edges which have a combination of green and blue, right? Where are these? These are along this edges, green, blue, green, blue. There will be one bottom baby, because bottom is also green, right? There will be one on that edge, right? How many? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. रुक जाओ. Oh, I haven't cut it here. एक और करना पड़ेगा. 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 here, 4 here. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Why? Because green at the top, blue at that side. 4 will be furthermore at the bottom also. That will, you will get 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. Only along these edges, 1, 2, 3 and the one that is underneath this one will you find a combination of green and blue. This is where you have to be a little careful. Whenever you are given a combination of colors, figure that out first. पहले combination of colors बनाइए, उसके बाद आप cubes बना सकते हैं, right? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Why are we not taking these edges? Why? Because this is blue and this is yellow. We are only interested in green and blue. Green and blue you will find only at these edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 directly underneath this one. Right? You can do it also with combinations. Why? Because you have been given 3 colors, right? And you have been given that they have to be painted on the opposite surfaces. If you wanted to do it, you could do it 3C2 se bhi. 3C2 is 3 factorial upon 2 factorial into 1 factorial, basically 3, right? You will have 3 pairs of colors. If you want to do it this way also, combination se bhi aap kar sakte ho. If you want to do it this one, not a problem, right? Sir, now n is 6. Is n 6 in this case? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. I shouldn't have. You're right. मैंने count नहीं किया उसको. हाँ. You're right. Sorry. Then we'll have to be 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. There has to be 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. You're right. Right? Basically, the answer should be 12. I get it, Vishal. N was 5. I had mistakenly done it. Right? In this case, 3, 3, 3 and 3. Or you could have done it another way. Right? It's only at the edges that you will find faces which have 2 sides exposed to paint. Right? In this case, you have been given 3 colors and the possible combination out of 3 colors is 3C2. Maximum number of combinations that are possible is 3 pairs, which is, you can say, green, blue, blue, yellow, yellow and green. Yehi 3 combinations possible hai. Right? Total number of such cubes with only 2 sides exposed to paint, 12 into n minus 2. Because there are only 3 possible combinations, right? Each possible combination will have 12 into n minus 2 divided by 3, which is 4 into n minus 2. N in this case is 5. 4 into 5 minus 2. 4 into 3 is 12. Same thing, right? But why do you want to complicate it for yourself? Simple sa hai, n itna zyada bada hai nahi, you can just count it down. Green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, and bottom wala will be green and blue. Do you get it? Have you understood this up until this point? It's very simple up until this point. Koi dikkat hone nahi chahiye. If you have a problem, let me know. Right? That is a thing that you can do with combinations also, but not necessary. You don't have to go there. In logical reasoning, don't do it. Not a problem. Right? N will be 12. How many cubes will have only one face painted yellow and all other faces unpainted? What is the question trying to ask you? The question is asking you, how many such cubes will have only one face painted yellow and all other faces unpainted? Which is to say, these smaller cubes will only have one side exposed to paint and that side has to be painted yellow. It can only be yellow. All other faces are unpainted, which is to say there is only one face painted, all other faces are unpainted and that paint has to be yellow only. Right? Where do you find such smaller cubes which have only one face exposed to paint? You will find it only at the faces. Is face pe, is face, is, right? And now it is making it a little specific, asking us वो वाला जिसमें सिर्फ येलो का कलर मिले आपको, राइट? येलो आपको कहां मिलेगा? You will find it here, basically this one, right? And then yellow will also be on this side of the spectrum, right? इस तरफ चले जाओ, इसका opposite face, वहां पर भी आपको yellow मिलेगा. What will the value for this be? This will be 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, which is to say 9. 9 on this side, there will be 9 on this side also, because this is also painted yellow, right? Has to be 9 plus 9, which is 18. Answer has to be 18. Anyone has a problem? Not yet. I have a doubt in an open dice question number 2. Can you please explain me once? I was confused with option 2 and 3. I will explain to you, Vijay. Just let me complete this one and then I'll explain to you. Alright? Does anyone have a doubt here? How many such cubes have only one face painted yellow and all other faces unpainted? Which is to say, smaller cubes which have only one face painted. All other faces have to be unpainted, obviously, right? And only one face has to be painted and the paint has to be yellow. So you will only be interested in such faces which have yellow in them. Take out the corners, take out the edges, this one, right? N minus 2 ka whole square. N minus 2 will be 5 minus 2, 3. 3 ka whole square is 9. 9 here, 9 that side, right? Let's do the next one. How many cubes have at least one face painted green? Have at least one face painted green. Remember this. Sir, when there are different colors, we cannot use the formula. Vaishali, we can still use the formula. Of course, we can use the formula. But remember, you have to check for the colors that have been asked. You have to understand the question first. Is he only interested in knowing the number of smaller cubes without specifying which color it is? Right? Or is he asking us a specific color combination? In either case, you can use the formula. You could have solved the Pichle questions also with the formula. Right? But if you don't want to get wrong, or if you get a little too, if you find, using formula a little complicated, don't use it. You can still count it down, not a problem. You can use it with the formula. If you want me to, you want me to do it with the formula, I can do it with the formula, not a problem, right? But I think that will make it a little difficult for you. How many cubes have at least one face painted green? At least one face painted green का मतलब क्या है? At least one face painted green का मतलब ये है, smaller cubes can have either one face painted green, two faces painted green, or three faces painted green, right? It's only asking you how many such cubes have only at least one face painted green. At least का मतलब क्या है? Greater than equal to 1, right? It can either be one face painted green, or two faces painted green, or three faces painted green, right? At least one has to be painted green, right? Can you find in this combination, can you find any such place where there are two faces painted green, right? Because opposite faces are the same color. Can you find any such cube with two faces painted green? हो सकता है किसी पे two faces painted green, right? This is green, the bottom one is green, right? Two faces painted green can only happen along the edges. Along each edge there is a different color, right? Because green is on the opposite sides. Can you have two faces painted green along this edge? No, because this one is yellow, right? This one is blue. Can you have two faces painted green? नहीं हो सकता. On this side, नहीं हो सकता. Why? Because that side is blue. This side is yellow, right? Similarly, नीचे वाली तरफ भी. Two faces painted green तो automatically 0 ही है. This is 0. Three faces painted green. Basically, you have to look for such smaller cubes जिसमें at least three sides exposed to paint है. That is only at the corners. At each of these corners, it will have different colors because that is what the combination is, right? Opposite faces में same color है. Each corner will have a different color. For example, this will have a blue, green, and yellow. Here it will be blue. This will be yellow. Bottom will be green. This will be yellow. That side will be blue. Bottom will be green. This is yellow. That side will be blue. This will be green. Along any of these corners, you will have three different colors because such is the combination. ऐसा combination है कि three sides exposed to paint and three sides being green is not possible. So this is also 0, right? We do not want these two. Why? Because दोनों 0 हैं. Now we'll have to check for such cubes which have one face painted green. It does not mean only such cubes which have only one face painted. It means such cubes which have at least one face painted green. एक face painted होना चाहिए green, right? That is basically all of this face. सारे के सारे में at least one face तो painted green है, right? You don't have to be interested only in the center वाला square. No, because that way तो ये तो definitely will have only one face exposed to paint and that will be green. For the edges also, you will have green and blue, green and blue, green and blue. At least one face is exposed to green. This edge also green and blue, green and blue, and green and blue. At least one face is exposed to green. This one is green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow. One face at least is exposed to green. Along the corners also, this is green, this is green, this is green, and this is green. Basically, all of this top square is the one which has at least one face painted green. How much is the square? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 ka square. 25. 25 on the top surface. 25 on the bottom surface too. You will have 25 plus 25, which is 50. The answer has to be 50. Remember, this is not just one face exposed to green. This is saying ek side has to be green. It's not saying only one face painted and that is green. It's asking you only one face painted which is green. This is Sanjeev and yeah, exactly. Right? This is exactly what I was trying to come down to. Every time you have been given a combination of colors, that's where you have to be very careful. It's not, is it the most difficult of questions? It's not. It's the easiest of questions. You only have to be very careful, read the question very carefully and then get down to it. Question ढंग से पढ़ो, ढंग से समझो. पूछ कर है, at least one face painted green. Minimum एक side तो green होनी चाहिए. It's not saying कि one face and that is green. At least one face painted green, right? In this case, at least one face painted green will be the entire top lid, right? Corner पे भी तो एक green है ही, edges पे भी तो एक green है ही. ये तो of course होगा ही होगा, right? All of this, 25 here, 25 at the bottom, 25 plus 25 is 50. Remember this. Read the question very carefully, especially when it has been given to you in a color combination. Color combination जब भी दिया हुआ है, then read it very, very carefully. Now the sixth one. How many cubes have at the most one face painted? At the most one face painted का मतलब क्या है? कि maximum एक ही face painted होना चाहिए. Right? It's not telling you which color. It's only saying at the most one face painted. So, it's trying to talk about such faces which have, such cubes which have 0 faces painted, such cubes which have only one face painted. Right? Without specifying which color. At the most का मतलब क्या है? Less than equal to 1. Only one face painted. At the most one face painted. So, such cubes with 0 faces painted, such cubes with one face painted. You can, because there has been no color specified, you can straight up apply the formula. 0 के लिए क्या होता है? n minus 2 का whole cube. 1 के लिए क्या होता है? It's 6 into n minus 2 का whole square. n was 5, so 3 का cube plus 6 into 5 minus 2 is 3, 3 का square. This is 27, this is 54, has to be 81. The answer has to be 81. Do you get it? At the most one face painted. That means either 0 faces painted or one face painted without specifying the color. Color नहीं बताया है. If there has been no color specified, तो आपको इतना जाके इसके अंदर ढूंढना नहीं. You don't have to count it down. It's only talking to you about such cubes with only one face painted, such cubes with only 0 faces painted. You apply the formula straight up, you get to the right answer. Right? Do you get it? Sanjeev, that's not a problem. The problem is you're trying to jump too quickly. Jaldi jaldi jump mat karo, because here we are only trying to explain to you. You're making these mistakes. It's a better thing because in the exam hall you will not make these mistakes. Don't jump to reading questions. एक बारी पढ़ो पहले, तसल्ली से देखो, because these are questions you will get it right any case. कर लोगे. But if you jump to answers, तब गलती हो जाती है. Remember? Do you get it? Is any of this बहुत कोई difficult लग रहा है अभी से आपको? Are you feeling a little flustered कि ज़्यादा दिक्कत हो रही है आपको ये सब करने के लिए? Is it very difficult? Right? These are very, very simple concepts you have to remember. Very, very simple concepts. Just remember, if there is a bigger cube, it has been painted, even if it's painted in multiple colors, it does not matter. When it is cut down into smaller cubes, it's only at the corners that you will find such smaller cubes with 3 sides exposed to paint. Only at the edges will you find such cubes which have two sides exposed to paint. Only at the faces you will find such cubes which have only one face exposed to paint. And only at the core will you have such cubes which have zero sides exposed to paint. If you know that concept, उसके बाद आपके लिए कुछ भी मुश्किल नहीं है. Then you can use it. Use your formulae. You can use your logic to cut to the right answer. All right? Dhananjay is asking me to explain the last one again. Okay. Last one was how many cubes have at the most one face painted. At the most one face painted, it's not specified which color. It's just asking you at the most one face painted, which is to say less than equal to one face painted. Either it has to be cubes with no sides painted or such cubes with one side painted, only one side painted, right? This you can get with the formula n minus 2 ka whole cube. Simple si baat hai. With one face painted without specifying which color, right? You can straight up use the formula 6 into n minus 2 ka whole square. N ka value tumko pata hai. Use the formula, get down to the right answer, right? How many classes will you take? Kumar, I'm guessing, I thought it will take around 7 to 8 odd classes, but with the speed that I'm going, I'm guessing it will be 9. Right? Normally, if you grasp it quickly, it should not take you more than 7, right? But let's fix it at 8, right? It depends though. All right. So Vijay was asking, I have a doubt in open dice question number 2. Can you please explain it to me once? So all of the rest can break if you want to. We can take the remaining questions on cubes tomorrow. Don't worry about that. Vijay, you can stay back and maybe look at the question. This is question number 2 in an open dice question. I'll try and explain it again to you, right? The rest can break for today's class. Tomorrow we will continue with cubes. And then if time permits, we can start either with calendars or with clocks, whichever way we can go. Cool? Sir, once explain how it got 50. 50 it got only because it was asking you have at least one face painted green. At least one face painted green ka matlab kya hai? Either it can be one face painted green, two faces painted green, three faces painted green. It's asking you at least one face painted green, right? Two faces painted green is not a possibility. Why is it not a possibility? Because opposite faces are the same color, right? Two faces painted will be along the edges only. Along each edge you will have a different color, right? You have green, blue, here green, blue, green, yellow, right? There can be no edge where you will find the same two colors. So two faces painted green, to possibility nahi hai, it has to be 0. Similarly, three faces painted green, three faces painted is a possibility only at the corners, along each corner, because the combination of colors is such, right? It's such a combination that you will find along each corners, you will have 3 different paints, right? So in these cases, you will not have 3 sides painted green. 3 sides painted green be 0 hai. Now you are only left with one side painted green. It's not asking you only one side painted green. It's saying one side painted green. Now look at the top surface. The top surface will have these cubes which have only one face exposed to paint, and that is green. That is a possibility, yes. Great. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 9. N minus 2 ka whole square. Along each of these edges, you will find a combination of 2 colors, but one of them is green. So you have to take 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Similarly, 1, 2, 3 at the bottom, 1, 2, 3 on that side. At the edges, you will have one face, at least one to ek green hai. Green, blue, yellow, green, yellow, blue, right? So you'll also have to take the corners. Basically, you have to take the entire top lid, because it will have at least one face painted green. Ek face to usme painted hoga green, right? How many at the top corner? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ka square, which is 25. Similarly, 25 at the bottom. 25 plus 25 is 50. You get it? Okay. Are you clear on this one though? Alrighty. Fine. So we can break the class here. Why are we adding 0 sides painted in the 6th question? 0 sides painted in the 6th question. Because it's asking you at the most one face painted. At the most one face painted ka matlab kya? Maximum there can be only one face painted. At the most means less than equal to 1. Maximum there can be only one face painted. So there is a possibility, na? There can be face cubes with no faces painted. There can be cubes with one face painted. Because it's asking you at the most one. It's not asking you 1. It's asking you at the most 1. Right? If you cut a bigger cube, you have at least 4 possibilities. One is 3 faces painted, which will be at the corners, 2 faces painted, which will be at the edges, 1 face painted, which will be in the faces somewhere in the middle, right? And 0 faces painted, which will be at the core. It's asking you, without specifying which color, it's asking you how many such smaller cubes will have at the most 1 face painted. Maximum 1 face painted hona chahiye, right? Because there is a possibility that there are cubes which have 0 faces painted, you have to take that. It's less than equal to 1. At the most 1 ka matlab kya hua? Less than equal to 1, which is why you're taking it. Alrighty. Jayon, are you clear with this one? Okay. Can we break for the class today? Tomorrow we will take up cubes only. We'll try and complete cubes. We'll take a little more challenging questions on cubes. And then post cubes, we can start with either clocks or with calendars. I'll prefer to go with calendars, but it can also be clocks depending on how much time we have at hand. But we'll finish cubes first and then move to the next one. Most likely we should take clocks, right? If not clocks, then we will take calendars. Don't worry about that. We'll check how much time do we have. Alrighty? Cool. Let's break the class for today. Thank you. I hope you had fun. Thank you.